2K21. Straight swaggin'. Yeah. No, I've been running, my foot on the pedal, racing for a check. Money to motivation, cause I'm seeing race and some jets chilling in the back. Feeling like Tom Brady, how bulletproof it in the booth, I'm groovy like I'm Chad. No, I'm so Annie that with all the plus of women in the pen and bag like a Shaq. Watch out, ballin'. I'm calling Chris crawling. Fuck with the J from the Spalding. I'm saucing quite often. Probably George with the throbbins. Throwing me Huckles with lobbyists. I'm being honest. Black mama hit the progress. Tell them boy that I need a milli ticket in the safe with about 100 million sitting in the grave. I got the splash, whipping with the drip. Lil' Kyle salsa, riding with the waves. I got the heart of an ape. No, this ain't no Atlanta, but how I push it, I'm the brave. I got the turn to push up all the ways. Hit me with the hypey like we at the rave. I hustle hard for residuals. I go hard up the court like umbilicals, harder than physicals. I'm good, I'm too nice with the synonyms. I ain't too far to a 9 to 5 minimum. I want an out kid and I'm pushing forward. That's what Robert Ory 3 and final moments. You ain't fitting right to my components. I be the question to my opponents. Hit him with Iverson moves in the tuck. Feeling like Giannis right out the Bucks. Blue like the Titan and swing like the truck. Story I convinced how I'm wet with the clutch. Remember when Michael fake dunked and laid it. Middle back with the D nuggets, he slayed it. Russell Westbrook screw with the bounce. Kevin Durant like a three for the crown. I'm in my zone. I need a throne. I belt for the trophy with free piece. With the Kobe or Bronson for my feet.
Yo, Sneak This Podcast. This is Closet episode number 7. I got a good guest on the phone. I think it's been a long time coming, you know, having a conversation with him. I consider him one of the smarter people, you know, I see on social media and, you know, with opinions and, you know, that has a presence on, like I said, social media and podcasts and creating content. I got the homie Mikey Dabb on the phone. What up, Mike?
What's going on? Chilling. Oh, this is very, very new Closet episode. I like this.
It is. Before we get started, let me read you a quote real quick. For those, you know, a lot of people know who Mike is. Mike is the host of, he has one of the shows. He has the Hypebeast with Hypebeast. And let me read a quote that you said from the Pop Smoke episode. And I quote, all right, you said, January wasn't good. February, not better. Not sure what this will shape up to be. Talking about 2020.
Yeah, 2020 is not looking good at all.
Not at all. And that was the episode where you guys were, you know, reflecting on, you know, the incident with Pop Smoke and his unfortunate death. Hello?
I got you. I was taking a sip. I was thirsty.
Oh.
I leave the video on so you can see I'm like in the middle of drinking something. But it's all good. Yeah, it was definitely a somber start, and it's not looking any better. I think we're turning into it's going to be like a civil war before this year's over.
Yeah, you know, I hope it gets better. You know, I feel like, you know, daily I look out the window or, you know, have to go somewhere. You know, everybody's trying to get back to normal as possible. But my wife and I were driving to my sister-in-law's house yesterday, and it was her birthday, and we drove by Chipotle, and everybody's standing outside huddled in a group because they won't let you in the building. And I was just like, man, are we at that point to where we're standing in a huddled circle for a burrito we've had millions of times?
I mean, the crazy part about that scenario is it's the same thing as huddling inside. So, like, what really is the point? Like, if you're not going to create the limitations inside and outside to have, like, maybe somebody go, listen, guys, you got to stand this far apart and not do this or do that. They're basically standing in the same line they'd be standing in inside, outside. So what are you stopping?
Yeah, that's what I told my wife. I was like, they're not even in a line outside. They were just all standing in a huddle talking, you know, and I'm sure they were talking about the obvious. So,
yeah, they're talking about how they're going to get their burrito. What do you mean?
So, you know, how's quarantine been for you? You know, obviously we follow you on, you know, social media. You've been doing a lot of cooking and stuff. I'm
not going to lie. Like, so somebody sent me a meme, and it's like a weird teddy bear looking up, like when you realize quarantine life is your actual life. Right. And you never called it quarantine. Like, I'm cool with this. Like, I do photography, so like I'm home a lot editing. I have no problem doing that. So if I'm out 2 or 3 days and I edit 3 or 4 days, I'm usually here anyway. So it really hasn't been much of a shift for me, aside from wearing a mask when I go out.
Yeah, you know, the only thing that, like, I will say is, you know, I'm not a go out person. You know, I have a wife and I have kids and stuff, and, you know, a lot of our time is trying to entertain them usually throughout the weeks when we want to quarantine. But now they're just in our face from sun up to sundown. That has been difficult, you know. And being able to work from home as I have been since this has started, that's been great. But being able to work home with like little kids is the worst.
It's funny you say that. Like I feel for everybody who's home, but I also feel like, you know, when you're told to do something, it's a lot worse than doing it on your own. So like a lot of people are just like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be home, even though I know it's safer just because you're telling me to be home. So it's that mindset that like you can go do things.
And on your end, I know it has to be difficult just for maybe work or anything that you possibly do outside. I mean, you live in New York. Like New York is New York. There isn't a such thing as social distancing in New York.
It's hard. And it definitely, everybody is able to voice their opinion, which is great. You know, that's fantastic. But, you know, a lot of the time I was in the store, like when this first started and somebody went off, like somebody's like, hey, listen, could you just back up? And he's like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to catch a virus from me from 6 feet away? Like, yeah, it's going to happen anyway. So who gives a shit? I'm like, bro, like you could just respect their wish to be, you know, 6 feet away from each other. They're not like they're telling you to go jump off a building, but that's everybody in New York. Like everybody has their own little volatile, you know, switch. Because essentially, like, we're kind of wired like that. I try not to do that in as many cases as possible, but, like, it's easy for people to just turn up. And I think that's not just New York, it's everywhere.
Well, you know, what's funny is, like, with New York, you know, it's always considered just, like, the ultimate melting pot of the world. And, you know, I look at New York as a place that is going to have more opinions and more views than anywhere else in the country. Maybe California, but California, I gotta tell you this, Arizona is you can have all the personalities and opinions you want here, but they're gonna do their best here in Arizona to get you on a one-track mind of thinking. And it's like their way or the highway. Like out here, you go against what certain people say, you're out of control. You can't live here. Like that's how it's viewed out here.
That's crazy. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that.
No, and that's what's the thing. Like even California is it's a melting pot within itself, but it's broken up, and New York is broken up too in sectors. But like, you know, I feel that New York, it's being broken up. Everybody does have that, you know, quote unquote New York state of mind. You know, in California, it's extremely broke up. Like there's Los Angeles, but Los Angeles is broke up by so many different cultures and people. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's like your part of California or Los Angeles is yours. And that's the only mindset you think and know. And you rarely step out of it. Like you rarely go out of it. People in New York, I feel like they venture off, you know, a lot to other areas. You know, they have their own views of certain boroughs and areas like that. But I think New York within itself is, you know, it will always, you know, lead in opinions and views and answers that a lot of people, other states to me, aren't ready to deal with.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's apparent in like the way that we even have stores and restaurants in certain areas of the city or Queens or Brooklyn or like it doesn't matter where you go. Like you can find things that you're not going to find in any other state.
Oh, 100%. Like my wife and I, we watch Top Chef. We love watching cooking shows. And they were cooking, I can't remember what they were cooking. And my wife said, man, I want to go to that country and eat it. And I said, I just want to go to New York and eat it. Because I know it's there, you know. Like
exactly.
Here, if I say, oh, man, I want to find a really good Italian restaurant, I'm going to find one that's good. But if I want to find a really good Italian restaurant, I really don't feel like I got to go to Italy. I can go to New York.
And that's 100% correct. I mean, a good thing about like New York is they say it's the water. Like the water that they use for most of the ingredients is just different. And I think that even pizza, when you talk about pizza, people are like, oh, yeah, you can go to Boston to get good pizza. Boston does have decent pizza. Massachusetts has great pizza. But if you want to talk about like how the ingredients are made and put together, the water in New York is just the key ingredient.
And it's funny you say that because, you know, I'll say this right off the bat. Like, I remember you were doing all the pizza, going to the pizza spots and get pizzas. And I don't think New York pizza is like that fantastic. It's good. Like, I don't think there's a such
this over?
thing.
Are we not talking? Or that's the end of this podcast? Or
like,
straight disrespect on the New York pizza. Shit.
See, it's not a disrespect on the New York pizza. It's just really good. Like, I don't view it as like, oh my God, that's so much better than that one. And me personally, I've been to New York a bunch of times. The best part about New York pizza to me is that it's available to me whenever I want. There's gonna be something open when I want it. Now, when I have it at this spot right here, right in the heart of Manhattan, and then we end up in Brooklyn somewhere and I have it, do I feel like it's dramatically different? No. I feel like it's the care of when I get it. Like when I get it, if it's freshly made, ooh, it's going to be so good. Now, if it's been sitting there for a while and they got to throw it in the oven, heat it up for a bit, it's going to be a little different to me.
You keep walking. Just keep walking.
So don't do that. Just keep walking.
It depends on the place. If the place is one of the places that turns out pizzas all day long, like a Prince Street Pizza, which is one of the more popular places that a lot of tourists go to, it's good pizza. Well, like regardless, it's good pizza. They turn pies over every 8 to 10 minutes. So no matter when you go in there, if you see like a pie sitting there, you know it's still fresh. But if you go to like, 40th and 8th, the little pizzeria on the corner across from the Times building, like they don't turn pizza over, even though there's a lot of pizzerias there. So if you see it sitting there, don't even go. If it just came out of the oven, it looks like it's still bubbling, go for it.
Okay, see, that's a tip. That's a good tip. All right. And see, the water thing is funny you say that because one of my best friends, like her name's Lenore, I mean, love her to death. Her and her family are just, I consider them family. And, you know, her mom has even stood in line at Mercer for me to get LeBron corks when they came out. You know, that's how much, you know, I love them. And I remember when, you know, New York has this vibe. It's you know, it's older, but it's lively. And hey, let's be honest, there's a lot of New York is dirty, okay, in areas. Yeah. And there is some wild smells. So I remember when we went to her house in Queens, you know, we took the trains, we went to their apartment or whatever it is in Queens, and, you know, they live in a nice place and all that. I remember they like, oh, you guys want some water? And, you know, they went straight to the sink and got the water. It threw me for a bit because when we used to live in Oregon, you could drink the water out of the sink in Oregon. And Oregon looks like one of those places you could. New York does not look like one of those places you could drink water right out the sink.
I mean, I would not. I don't drink the water out of the sink. I use it to cook, sure, because I'm boiling it or whatever I'm doing. But I haven't drank from a faucet since I was like 11.
Oh, well, I guess we might be in trouble then.
As far as like pH goes and like trying to stay a little bit, you know, getting older, I'm like, I'm not gonna just do what I used to do when I was younger. Like I used to do high-rise construction. You find a bottle of water somewhere, you're drinking it. You're 80 stories up. Who gives? But at the end of the day, now that I changed my diet up a little bit, I changed my lifestyle up a little bit, I like definitely would never drink out of a faucet.
Changing your lifestyle and diet, is that because of quarantine?
No, I've been trying. Like it's weird. Like I pretend like I'm healthy all the time, but I'm really not. So like 6 months out of the year, I eat healthy, and then the other 6 months, I'm like, well, I ate 6 months healthy and clean. Well, I could chill on these 6 months. So like usually from like the end of the summer to like January, February, I'll eat whatever I want, and then like January, February, I switch my diet up again. But for the most part, whenever I drink water, it's always bottled.
Yeah, I mean, we live in Arizona. Like the water out of the faucet here tastes just like how Arizona looks, dusty, gritty. Like it's wild. So like I'm only accustomed to drinking, you know, out of water bottles, and we spend a lot of money on that. But you talking about, you know, being quarantined, your quarantine changed anything as far as you being a creator or sneakers, content, anything?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I wish that I could do content for everything I like to do, and I feel like that's maybe something a lot of people struggle with, is like that thing that you like to do. How do you create content for it? Number one, consistently, and two, like a lot of people need to monetize as well. For me, creating content, I love gaming. Like I'm always playing Xbox. I'm always playing PlayStation. I'm on Call of Duty. So like right now I'm actually uploading some clips from that. As far as sneakers go, like it's a little bit harder for me to like just go out and do fits because obviously it's quarantine and I don't want to take the same pictures on the same 3 blocks doing the same 3 poses. So it's like I want to lay off of that. But as far as, I don't know, constantly creating, I switched over to like more cooking stuff because it's something that, you know, it's easier for people to do. They like to see it. I know I like to see food. So that's like where my content is kind of shifted to. Plus, it's something I really like doing. I've always liked to cook, but you never have time for it. That's right. The biggest issue. You know, like you're home. Yeah, you work all day long. You come home, you want to make a meal, but it's like you're tired. Then you got to clean. Then you got to prepare. Now you're home. You're like, I got plenty of time. I can do that.
Yeah, you know, that's like with with us, like that was the same thing. You know, when it comes to cooking, you know, we used to try to make a bunch of time for it, but as like we get older, time is becoming. I keep telling everybody, time is the most valuable thing you can have. Like,
Yep.
I wake up every day at 3 a.m. You know, before quarantine to go to work. I got to be at work by 5 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever. And you know, I have kind of a drive to work, about 40 minutes to work, and back home during traffic about an hour. So it's like a lot of the things, like you said, a lot of the things you like to do or want to do, it's that time for. And I feel like there are a few things that I wish I started since we've been quarantined, and I haven't. And I started getting a little lazy. And even like this, like, you know, and I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. I'm gonna ask you another question because I do want to get your opinion on it. But let me tell everybody real quick, Mike is somebody, and I don't know if you've ever heard me say this or you know, been told this, anything like that, but Mike is somebody that I've said numerous times on this podcast I feel is an actual influencer, whether they are consider themselves, whether you consider yourself or not. And I say this because I appreciate Mike's pictures, what he wears, and the content that he puts out, because Mike, and I've said this, Mike, Ryan Swanger, you know, a few other people are people that maybe step out of the box of the norm and makes me say to myself, you know what, those are fly, or I could make those fly. It's
one of those things, and I've definitely heard you say, and I was like, damn, you know, I get where you're coming from on that too. Like, and I don't even know how to take like credit for that. I guess I don't even know how to respond sometimes.
You can, because a lot of people love to talk about, like, you know, people are so weird on the internet. I don't have to tell you this. And it's like, you know, you say somebody is they dress fly, or they cool, or you like their stuff or whatever, you dick riding. You say, oh, it's alright, you a hater. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's the point of how much work you put into your pictures. I see other people put a ton of work in their pictures and whatever they do, and it's not the same. I'm sorry. You can add the most tricks you want. You can make your sneakers fly in the air. You can do everything you want, but a solid picture with a solid outfit will always make me say, man, them pants are dope. Like, maybe I could give those a shot. Yo, them Asics, I thought they were cool, but now, ooh, I could imagine throwing something together with that. That's what I like.
That's the most important part to me. Like, even like doing like the camp out thing, it was never, it's not about clout. It's not about, I like the community, but it was never like that was my main intention, was to be a part of a community. It was like, listen, my mom raised me from I was a little kid to be like, listen, we're going out on Sunday. We have this thing. You're going to wear this stuff from Gap, and you're going to look fucking presentable, and you're gonna in sync, and you're gonna whatever. And like from a young age, she always like instilled that in the idea that you need to look the way you feel, more or less. And if you feel good, you should look good. So like I always grew up like wearing fits, and sneakers just casually grew into that. And like when I was 13, that was my first job at a sneaker store. It was like, yo, the sneakers are fire. Like I love J's, I love shoes, I love Cortezes. Like that was my thing. Like, and I didn't want to wear what everybody else was wearing, so I didn't start collecting. I started building a closet, and in building the closet, the shoes, you know, kind of came along with that. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like, wear what you like. Don't worry about, like, I don't even like to post stuff when I buy. Like, I have stuff in my closet that everybody posts, and I'm like, I got it a month ago. I don't care. Like, I'm not out here trying to catch clout. I'll wait until I have the right outfit, and then I'll post it. Like, that's when I know it looks good. Like, that's when I think it's presentable, you know?
And see, that's where I get mixed up in, like, because, you know, you do podcasts and you guys do the show, The Breakdown on YouTube, and, you know, I feel like with the stuff that we put together, the audience that we've created, they I don't want to say yearn, but they really want to see like everything that we have. And a lot of people are always like, yo, when are you going to show your closet? When are you going to do something? And it's just not my thing. Like, I don't know how to do that. I did say that quarantine has made me like, oh, no. Like, I could sit on this podcast and tell everybody, like, I dress fly all the time, but I don't take pictures of it. No, I'm definitely going to be showing it now. Like, I'm going to be taking my camera with me now and stop making excuses for it to be able to put that stuff out there. Because, like you said, I mean, I buy a ton of stuff and I rarely show it. I don't even take the time to try to figure out how to take a picture. So I do appreciate that from you, and I think it's something that a lot of people should look towards your page to get a better understanding of how to do.
Also, if you do decide to grab a camera, I mean, you don't need one per se, but if you do and you need some pointers, I got you.
Oh, no.
What kind of phone do you have?
What kind of camera do I have?
No, what kind of phone do you have?
Oh, I have a iPhone XR.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, dude, don't sleep on like the simplicity. Someone told me a long time ago, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Dude, you keep it as simple as possible so you don't have to think like, oh man, I'm wearing this fit. I got to grab my camera. I got to get a tripod. I got to go out. Dude, grab the phone, put it down, take the picture. Get home, go 1 by 1 square, do a little tune into it, throw it up. That's it. Don't even overthink it.
Now, you know what's funny is that like one of the issues that I've had a hard time overcoming is doing that in public.
Nah.
I don't, even though, you know, we do a podcast and stuff like that, you know, we do enjoy a certain amount of attention, you know, because it's like behind a mic, here, a camera, you can put it out there. Man, when I take my phone out and try to take a picture of like my shoe or something like that, I feel so weird.
It's definitely a hump you have to go to. It's the same thing as recording. I'm sure the first couple of times you recorded, you were listening to yourself or you were videoing yourself, you were a little off. You know what I'm saying? You weren't like, I'm camera ready. I wasn't camera ready at first either. I wasn't, you know, microphone ready. You can do it a couple times. And you know what? The thing that gets me through that most of the time is knowing that I will probably never see that person ever again.
Okay, so then let's just jump into that topic right now. Let's jump into the breakdown. Let's jump in the hype report because, and I'm going to ask you this from a personal standpoint because I've asked a few people that I know personally that do podcasts and do shows. Have you considered stopping?
So this is funny you should say that. So I mentioned before I used to do high-rise construction, and my job was a signal guy. So I spoke all day long to my crane operator, like literally from 6 a.m. to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And everybody's like, yo, why don't you do like a radio host or something? Like, you don't shut up. And honestly, I didn't realize how much I liked doing, you know, podcast or video stuff until I started doing it. And I enjoy the idea that I can relay my opinion in a responsible way and not just have people who maybe I don't respect say things in regard to things that I do care about and have no one refute that or rebuke that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to stop, but I did take a break from the breakdown. Only because, you know, with quarantine, Tone's far away. He's doing a couple of his own things. I'm like, you know what? It's good to take a little break. So people will yearn for it when it does come back. Maybe we come back with something different. Who knows? But, you know, at this juncture in time, I'm thankful for the break. Okay. But stopping is kind of like, if I don't feel it, I'll stop. That's really like my mentality. It's like I've never really been one to force myself to do anything that I didn't feel comfortable doing or don't feel comfortable doing. So like, I love talking about shoes. I love talking about people. I love being, you know, in this, whatever this is. So, I mean, until that feeling goes away or I feel like it's too toxic for me, I'm good.
Yeah. You know, it's like with me and George when we did podcast and, you know, it was originally 3 of us and we started it, like I had no idea, you know, whether we're good at it or not. Had never done anything of the sort like that. Like you talked about quarantine. I'm not a loner, but I'm just kind of, you know, there. You know what I mean? I don't put on a show. I don't do anything like that. So it was like our text message thread was the reason for starting the podcast. I mean, we talk about sneakers all day. It's like, well, you might as well share it with somebody else. And I will tell you that, and this is, I don't even know if it's just me personally, like my own feelings or anxiety or OCD. I don't know what it is, but like every episode I feel like stopping. Like, and I love it, and like the response to it, people love it, and it's really good and all that. And I listen to it, and I'm like, man, that was really good, but then I think it's trash. It's the work that goes into it. I enjoy and love the work of it, but I don't think a lot of people, and I think you can speak on this, I don't think a lot of people understand how hard it is to do what we do.
You know what it is? I get where you're coming from, where like you just don't want to do it. When I think about like what is about to happen every episode, like I think, okay, well, I got to get it together. I mean, not to take too much credit, but like I do, you know, most of or all of the background checking on the sneakers for that week. I do all the editing. I do all the setting up. It's my green screen. It's my place. So like everything like for me to do the show. So it's like I take a certain pride in what's going on. And if I feel like, you know, my co-hosts aren't there or they're not really with it, like it throws the whole show off for me. And I'm like, damn, we shouldn't have did this today. And like, like editing, I'm like, all right, fine. Like, it's not terrible. Like, I don't have to cut it too much because I don't like to take the rawness out of the episode either. Like, I used to edit where I'd be like, oh, that was crazy. Why would you say that? But I'm like, why? Why are we doing that? Like, it's got to be real. So I started leaving all that stuff in, and I'm like, all right, you know, it's good. But me personally, and I obviously, based on this conversation, know you feel the same way. Like, I feel like it could be like a million times better every episode. Yeah,
and that's what, like you said, when you first go back and you like. When you first started recording or getting in front of a camera, you're not sure how you would be and all that. Because, like, I don't take out anything either unless it could be taken, like, a really bad way. Like, I never take out anything. I just make sure the audio and stuff sounds good for people's, you know, ear consumption. But the like, rawness, like you said, like, I like to leave that in there. I mean, that's how me and George talk to each other, you know, daily. So it's like, well, I'm just sharing that with you, you know, whether you understand it or not, it's one thing, but you know, like I do 99%, you know, of everything that goes on with it, but I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't trust anyone else to do it either.
Right. So it's like I try not to like let it bother me to complain, because it was like with George is really good at podcasting. Like, it's taken him a really good time for him to figure that out, but he's really good at it. And now if George came to me and said, hey, I want to do the editing now, I would be like, no.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's like, nah, that's cool, man. Like, just don't give me grief. You know, let me do my thing. Don't, you know, bother me. And it's all good, you know?
Yeah, I try not to, like, let that be a thing as well. Like, I feel like when they come in and, like, I know, like, what's happening or what's going on. And, like, whether, you know, they come in and somebody has a feeling about something or something happened in their outside life before they got to the show, and like it's like, oh man, I don't know if I feel like, I'm like, you don't understand. I have so much work to do, but I don't even say it. You know, like I'm just like, all right, well, let's try and shoot the show and be happy about it, and knowing I have another 6 hours to go before I could like chill. You know?
Yeah, and that's where like when we start the podcast, I just sit there and I go, all right, podcast mode, you know, because it's like sometimes you gotta act. You gotta just like, yo, how you doing, everybody? What you doing? Sneakers. You gotta put it on, you know? And I can tell sometimes with George, like his mindset, like when me and George are with each other, it's nonstop joking and arguing all the time. But when we're driving to the studio and it's complete silence, I'm like, oh God. I'm like, what's gonna happen? You know? Yeah,
that's like KB. KB's the same way. She wears her emotions like on a sleeve. So if something's bothering her, like I'm like, oh, this is not going to be a good episode.
And KB's another one too that like on the internet I view as an influence. You know, like she is really good at what she does and she sticks to it. Now I don't know how much of that is, you know, because I see like sometimes you take her pictures or, you know, vice versa. But she is, you know, when she came on our podcast, like, I mean, everyone loved that episode. Like, she is really, really good. And, you know, how did that even, you know, you guys with the breakdown get started? Like, how did that get built up?
Oh man, I want to say it started with United Souls, which is another show that we did years ago. So what am I on? We're in the fifth year of the breakdown, and I did that show for 3 years, so like 8 years ago. Basically, dude, Paulie Hustle, this kid that used to run the kit lines, kind of like I run them now. He and I like hit it off. We were just mad cool, and he was like, "Yo, I want to do a show." And I was like, "All right, cool, let's do a show." And it was me, him, and this guy Dan Tier Zero, which is like another YouTube guy, a little bit older. Condolences, because I know he just lost some family members. But aside from that, he, myself, and Paulie, we did United Souls, and then another dude, Josh, joined on, and then a little later on, Kristen joined in. So it was like Josh had left, and then Kristen stepped in. So we were already kind of like doing a show together, and then like the last episode of that series, kind of it was like a weird ending, and I was like, you know what, I'm not ready to stop. So like the next week, I started the breakdown, and I just shot it myself in my living room, in my kitchen. Like it was like a weird backdrop, it was whatever, and then I just continue. And I invited Tone on for an episode, and then he never left. And I was like, all right, I guess this works. Cool. And then I invited Kristen on for an episode because she was like, well, I haven't done anything in a while. And then she never left. So it's like, it was organic. It wasn't like, I need a girl on the show or I need Tone on the show. It was like, oh, we're having fun. Cool.
And that's how it should work. That's how it should be.
And I definitely like the way like the rhetoric goes, because like Tone and KB will go at it the entire show if I let them. So it's like it's good to see their perspectives, because Tone has a different perspective from me. I have a different perspective from KB, and KB's KB. So like it's just, I think it has a very equal flow, even though there's no equality there whatsoever.
Does it bother you? So I look at your show as like one of the, I don't want to say one of the originators, but I would say it's one of the originators with quality. That's how I'll put it. Did it or does it bother you how much or how many people are trying to do the same thing that you've done?
I mean, emulating is kind of a form of flattery, I guess. But at the same time, like, I hate to say it like this. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care, because I do it because I want to do it. It's not because I care about the monetization. I care about how many people are watching. I do prefer when people watch, but like at the end of the day, like, I just like doing it. And it's cool to see what other people are doing, because I need a little fire into my ass sometimes. Like, just to be like, you know what? I've been slacking off. Let me step it up a little bit. Like, I've been a little complacent about like using a studio instead of using my apartment, or using different backdrop and using different audio, and like getting someone to edit the show instead of me editing it in a way that like is more, up to date, as opposed to just being so flat. So like there's definitely things that I need to do different, and it's cool that other people do it. I appreciate the idea that they either see something that they want to do different, but I don't appreciate when they make the attempt to be just like a full-size run, or, something that's just mainstream that they feel like they can use as a way to monetize or make a joke out of whatever sneakers is.
And see, that's where I do lose. Like, so, I'll say this with like your guys' show and even the Hype Report, which we're going to talk about the Hype Report a little bit. Like, it's such a... People always talk about like support content and things like that. And there's so much content out there. And I 100% agree with you. I could care less about anybody. I mean, there are so many people who listen to our podcast that would be like, man, you've lit the fire under me to want to start my own sneaker podcast. Does it bother me sometimes? It doesn't bother me, but it's like, it makes me... Like, I feel like at some point you get to a point to where like you're doing so good that you maybe can like not work as hard. And I think it's a good point that you made, that constant build of competition, if you want to say, even though I don't feel like I'm competing with them, it keeps you on your toes. Yeah,
it's healthy. Honestly, it's healthy. It's like, the Golden State Warriors. And like you need competition. Otherwise, it's like, oh, they're going to win again. Like, it gets boring. You need something to spice it up. Like, and I'm not saying it because I need something to spice up my life. I like the idea. We're built on competition. Like, I don't care what anybody says. If you think you're wearing a dope fit and you're going to an event and someone's wearing something doper, you're like, damn, fuck. Like right. It just is what it is. It's in us, So there's nothing wrong with that. But to your point about people saying you inspired me to do something similar, that statement in and of itself is disheartening, because I'm like, what are you going to talk about the same thing that we talk about? Like, what exactly? Well, when you say I inspired you to do something similar, like, what do you mean exactly? Like, what is it? Until it actually happens, like, I'm very curious. Like, what are you going to do? Like, if I inspired you to be just like me, then I wasn't doing something I was supposed to do.
See, now that's where and this goes even with bigger companies and bigger brands and other things like that. I worry about the content that I put out being used elsewhere. So it's like, let's say, like, okay, our show is built on like, me and George, I consider us sneaker analysts. I'm not reviewing something. Like, we try to go a little deeper into the sneaker than anybody else would. There are a lot of people that are just like, yo, is it fire? Is it not? Yo, what do you think about the sole? you know, yo, like it fits good on my foot. Like that's surface level, you know. Getting deeper, and even some of the topics that we do get into, like they might be a little out there, a little wild, but it makes you think a little bit. So I always worry that a unique take or opinions or view of anything that we have, people will try to use it for theirs, and then it muddles the water.
Agreed. I think that there's no, I hate to say that, there's no censorship when it comes to the content and who it's coming from. Like there's no higher person in sneakers that's like, oh, listen, you definitely shouldn't listen to those guys. Like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. There's like, I watched a show that was The Breakdown. It was literally The Breakdown. It was two guys sitting on a couch looking at shoes on a computer in front of them in the same format that I do the breakdown. And like one of the earlier episodes, basically with Tone and myself, and I was like, who's watching this? And the kid had like probably like 4,000 views on the video. And I was like, who is this? Kid is feeding information to people. One, incorrect. Two, I wouldn't dress like you if you put a gun to my head. So like, why would I even listen to what you're even saying right now? Like in what world does this work? And then you're getting views. So there's nobody saying, guys, listen, there are certain reputable channels that you should be watching, and it's already muddled. Like even Full Size Run, you know, I respect the station in which they work because it's a higher station, whatever. But as far as the people on the show, I just feel like they don't care about what they're talking about. So like at that point, everything just sounds so toxic. I'm like, why would I even watch this show? And they get the most views. So it's like, this is what we're battling.
Yeah, and see, that's why I'm enjoying this conversation because, like I said, I consider you one of the smarter people out there with content and on social media regularly. And when it comes to Full Size Run and things like that, I tell people all the time, actually this last few weeks, however you might feel about Complex or not, Complex is right now at the pinnacle height of the media when it comes to culture. Whether they actually understand the culture, represent the culture, that's up to saying. But once you get to the point of where they're at, and you now have your own Complex Con and special releases, you're at the height of height. Yeah. Now, when it comes to Full Size Run, you know, I've expressed many views. I've gotten into it with the Welty guy. Yeah, Welty. Me and him have gone back and forth talking crazy just numerous times. And, you know, I don't like the approach that sometimes I've like gone about it with, but I watched the show and it's really gimmicky and a bunch of zooming in and a bunch of and all this weird stuff. And it's just, and I feel like it's like, man, like you get to the point to where you're saying like, this is what people like you said, you saw that other video, those guys doing their own version of the breakdown, and you're like, 4,000 views. Like, are y'all serious? Like,
it makes me think. I don't want to be the guy that does what everybody else does, and not because I don't want to be the guy that does what everybody else does. It's just not me. That's right. Not my style. It's never been my style to be like, oh, well, I know if I do more hashtags, and I know if I do more tags, and I know if I do more clips, and I know if I do, like, I don't. That's not what I want to do. That's not who I want to be. I don't want to be the guy that creates commercial for every episode he does. I mean, it works. It's proven that it works. But like, no, I do it because I want to do it. That's it. But
yeah, and that,
guys, yeah.
Well, no, and that's how I feel as well. Like, I feel like the value in the content that you create is worth more than that instant gratification. Yeah. Like, you know, it could be like, you know, 10,000 people like, oh my God, that was the greatest thing ever. And it's like, okay, cool. That's for that moment. But then it's just like buying a sneaker. It was fired that weekend, but it's Monday now. It's already whack.
Yeah, that is a perfect analogy as well. Because you know what? A lot of the times, like, people are like, oh, that's the best shoe ever. And then they miss it and they never go back to get it. So how far away? Like a shoe will drop in price at some point in time. Like, some shoes, let's say like 80% of shoes, especially like if it's a $400 shoe and nobody cares about it in 3 or 4 weeks, like, fine, the price is going to drop. How much did you love that shoe that you didn't even go back and get it?
See, and that was what I always say on the show. That to me is a definition of a sneakerhead, sneaker collector, sneaker connoisseur, whatever phrase you prefer to use. That to me is the definition of somebody like that. I cannot sit on social media and conversations with people and talk about like, yo, I need this. Like, yo, that joint is fire. This joint is everything. Oh my goodness. It drops. I take a L and I move on. Like, I have to go back and get that sneaker at some point. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but I have to keep an eye on it on whatever sites. I have to buy it when somebody presents it to me. That's why I hate when, like, I'll listen to, like, you know, I'll see conversations with friends and they'll be like, yo, I need a New Balance Kennedy or, you know, Hyannis, whatever you want to call it now. I need that. And then I send them like, yo, here go one. Homie got one worn twice for $2.99. Nah, I'm going to wait a second. I'm going for the LeBron 7 medias this week. All right.
Listen, I am the first. Well, I have a friend of mine that we go back and forth all the time because he's a cart adder, right? He never pulls a trigger. So he's like, oh, I could have got those. We'll talk about shoes, and he'll be like, yeah, I could have got those, but I had them in cart, and I just didn't think it was worth buying. And then like 4 months later, I'll be wearing them, and we'll go, oh man, I should have copped those. Why didn't I just cop? And I am an habitual copper. Like if I think a shoe is somewhat decent, and I might have something I could wear with it, I'm buying it. Even if I don't wear it, like I have a 1 year rule in my closet. Like if shit sits DS for 1 year, I can then sell it. Because obviously I didn't wear it. There was no need for me to buy it. Fine, I can let it go. But if I bought it and it wasn't even a hype item, but then 6 months later it becomes a hype item, like, oh, I let that shoe pass. I have it. I'm not like worried about it. I'm not thinking about it because I liked it when it dropped, like enough to purchase it. I hate the regret of being like, oh man, I should have copped. Nah, that is never going to happen.
That's kind of a good stance to be on, because like one of the things I said about quarantine has taught me is that how ridiculous I feel having so many DS sneakers. Like it, and I've been saying in the last few episodes that like DS sneakers to me I've kind of realized was an ego thing. Mm-hmm. You know? It was when you do get in those crowds or around those people or get in those conversations, having the DS sneaker or having the sneaker was like for my ego to be able to say, oh yeah, I got that. Oh yeah, I got 2 of those. Oh yeah, mine's still DS.
It's that competition thing, man. It's there. It's there in everything we do. That sense of like competition and I don't want to say one-upping, but knowing that like you are secure in whatever it is that your field is. Shoes or field. You're secure in your thought process and your purchase process. And if you go out in public and people are wearing some shit, you're like, yeah, I got this.
And I feel like I've gotten better with my buys, like on, because I do buy. That's why I tell people, you don't want to see my closet. Like, do I have some dope stuff? Sure. But I have a lot of stuff that I genuinely like and love. I don't think any of you want to see 15 pairs of Cortezes. I got them. I don't think you want to. You don't want to see 19 pair of Continental 80s. I love those. I wear those all the time.
Internationalist Continental 80.
What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel you. But like, listen, I did something for what was it? Who's Instagram? Foot Society? Not Foot Society. Jesus, this is horrible that I can't remember the Instagram. Anyway, it's in Spain, Foot District. I'm sorry. So they were like, they hit me up. They're like, hey, could you do an Instagram live? And I was like, sure, I'll do it, but I didn't know what people wanted to see. So like I asked a couple people and they're like, oh, let me see Off-White. Let me see this. So like I went through it and I was like, why am I showing you shoes that you've seen? So like I switch over. I go to like my Diodora. So I just started showing them a whole bunch of other shoes. And people were like, the comments were cool. They were like, Diodora. Oh, that's crazy. Well, I didn't see those before. Those are fire. And I was like, you know what? That's crazy that you people are in this scene of sneakers and the only thing that resonates with you are the hype things that a Complex, a Hypebeast, or any one of the larger platforms shows you. Like you don't even have appreciation for the things that aren't hype. Like it just destroys my thought process when it comes to sneakers. Sometimes I'm like, I get frustrated. I get very frustrated.
And I agree with you. And that's where, you know what, we're going to hold off on that talk because I do want to talk about that because that's one reason why I did want to talk to you. Because like I said, your style and choice of what you buy, it's encouraging on taking a look at a lot of other places. So we're going to come back to that. Let's talk about Hypebeast for a second. Okay. So one thing I love about Hypebeast is the amount of information that you can get out in a small amount of time. The longest episode I think you guys had was like the sneakers of 2019, I believe. That was like the longest one. And I like the format. So first of all, how did that come about? You know, you being able to be put in that position to have the Hype Report.
Super weird. So let me just clarify something real quick. The Hype Report is no longer active. They want to roll it into something else, and I'll explain that after I'm done with how it started.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. Okay.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, about 2 years ago now, Jeff had put something up, Jeff Staple, had put something up about looking for someone to host a podcast or show. And like people were tagging me on it on like Twitter. And I was like, all right, cool. And like he was at Extra Butter at the time, creative director alongside Bernie for those guys. And I was like, all right, I will send out, you know, some clips from the breakdown and see how it goes. And I actually, you know, I tried to do the nepotism thing, like friends and family. I went to Bernie. I was like, yo, are you connected with Jeff at all? Like, I know you guys work together, but like I put my name in the hat for this podcast thing. And Jeff, I didn't even know Jeff was there, but he had already DM'd me like, hey, caught a listen. Are you free in like 2 or 3 weeks to come in and do like a sample recording? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So like we set it up. We went back and forth a couple times. Dates didn't work. I wound up getting in there. We did a test pilot for Hypebeast Radio, I think was the name, or like the initial name for it. I sat down with a couple of the editors, and then I didn't hear from him for like 6 months, maybe 5 months. I was like, oh, I guess that's dead in the water. And then I was like, you know what, let me just reach out before I say it's over. I hit him up. He's like, yeah, no, we got approved. I'm just waiting for some paperwork to clear on my end, and then we're going to start up. I was like, oh, all right, cool. They were offices and whatever have you. So I wound up at the new Hypebeast office, and we just started recording. It was cool. It's good. I like the way it goes, but I'm more of a free speaker. And they were, you know, not putting limitations on what I could say, but like they were, you know, getting a little weirded out by some of the things I would say about brands, because I'm still going to keep it funky. Like I'm not going to. The whole point of.
Oh, see, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, keep going.
So the whole point of the show, I thought, was to have like a different perspective, and not just be someone who's going to be like, oh yeah, no, I love Nike, no, I love Asics, no, I love New Balance, yes. I mean, even if I agree with you, I can disagree with you. That's just the way I'm built. I could devil's advocate the shit out of anything. So like. Everything that came in there, and I like to do my homework too. So we weren't just talking about sneakers. We were talking about movies. We were talking about sports. We were talking about art, which is not something that I'm very familiar with. So I had to do a whole lot of background on that. So like, I mean, I was doing my due diligence in every single respective field to, you know, keep up with whatever the conversation was. The problem is, like when you have any co-host, you know, if they're not comfortable on, you know, the radio or behind a microphone, it relays through. Like no matter what you do in editing, you can't change that. Fact. So like hitting dry spots and someone can't speak, or someone's having a hard time, or you have to retake 30 times. Like, you know, people feel that, and it doesn't feel organic. And like that's the one thing I've noticed with content, hate to ramble on, is that the more content that's out there, the easier it is for people to read between the lines on what's real and what's fake, which I do appreciate.
100% agree with you.
Which is the one thing that like I do like about the saturated market with content. Like it's easier to find the bullshit. You're like, oh, that's bullshit. All right, we're good.
And when you say that, like, because I was going to ask you about the disclaimer at the end of each episode, because I remember which episode it was I was listening to, and for the record, I listened to the Hype Report. I love it. Like, I think it's really good, and I like the aspect of like being able to talk to like the editors and people that are like, I guess, versed in the topics that you're gonna discuss. Uh-huh. And the episode, I think it was one of them where you guys were talking about Supreme, and I think you were getting ready to, you were talking about like some of the like accessories or some of the releases. I don't remember. And I remember you had said it wasn't necessarily like against Supreme, but it was kind of like a
jab.
Yeah, like a little jab. And I said, oh, okay. And I had heard a few jabs on previous episodes before, and, you know, but I just didn't really think much about it. And I didn't really ever pay attention to the disclaimer at the end. And I listened to it, and I always worry about that with George and I and the stuff that we say, because we've been told, like, I've been told by some companies and some brands and people that have, like, wanted to do, like, certain things with us, how blunt we are about things we like or don't like, and how they just don't like that. Like, and I'll just go minimalize. Let's say there was one of the sneaker cleaner companies. Okay, I'm gonna just go to that. That to me is like the bottom level of something to me. So they asked me, could we chill out on some of stuff like that? You know, saying like, those are trash, those suck. Like, whatever. And I said no, because the concept of the show is to share how George and I actually talk to each other. So by you saying how it was, I don't want to say conformed or like in a box a little bit, I've always wanted to know that. I wanted to know that, like, if you get the opportunity to work for somebody like that, are they concerned with that?
So there's a level of yes and no to that. Obviously, like there's stipulations that they can put in place. Like I never signed an actual contract to that degree where I was limited on what I could or could not say. But it would be like conversations like, hey, so, some of the conversations are coming across a little like this. And like I could read between the lines. I'm not an idiot. Like I get it. And like I can tone it back. And obviously, like I curse. I like to curse. I like to use the F word as a very formal term of endearment sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes I love you. Like, fuck it. Like, who cares?
Right.
Like, that's the ease in which I Gary V the F word. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's not derogatory, but they don't see it that way. So, like, you have to pull back on that. And, like, that's kind of the way that I emit emotion sometimes. Like, I'm not going to change my level, but I'll use the F word in a different tone. So, like, oh, he means business now. So, like, that kind of stuff gets pulled back. But, like, as far as talking about brands, with the disclaimer on the back end is very helpful. But you also have to understand like who you're dealing with. Like you're talking to, a company that's paid by brands as a person that you're not paid by the brand. So it's like they're going to be very matter of facto about what they say. And you're going to be very well about that facto. It fucking sucks. So like you have to find a good way to be like, fuck you pleasantly. You know what I'm saying? Which is finding that middle ground of being like, hey, so I really do like the shoe. It's not my personal favorite, but at the same time, I could understand where they were going with it.
See, that hurts my soul when I hear people say that. It does. Like, because, and I had to explain to a lot of people, like a lot of people think how you talk to your friends or, KB or Tone off mic is completely different how you might talk on mic. When me and George say trash, we don't necessarily mean it's trash. Like, that's just, we just say the word trash. Like, so I would tell you this. So, like, when, like, we do stuff with GOAT, okay? So, like, we kind of have a little thing with GOAT. And the issue with, like, our show, we talk about everything. Like, I don't care if, like, this is a GOAT thing, but with StockX, if something is happening, or I sold something on StockX, or if someone bought something, or the price, we bring it up. So I remember I got this, I'm talking, I don't want to call it scathing, but it was like you talked about StockX, way too much, yada, yada. I mean, it was just like, yeah, but didn't y'all hear that StockX security had got broken into? Like, you thought I wasn't going to talk about that? Like, and then when I talked about it, like, I try my best. This is what I've learned with content. If I'm going to talk bad about something, I have to try my best to give a solution or something for it. When StockX had the whole situation where the security was broken into or hacked and all of our information, whatever, my thing was, it's big business. I've gotten that same email from Target, Nordstrom's, all the big companies who've said their stuff has been hacked. So I wasn't like as mad at StockX as everybody else was. My thing I get bothered with is when like a company or somebody doesn't say, yo, you know what? We messed up. Like, we thought our security was good. We was tripping. My bad. Here's a 20% off code. We're doing our best to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's what I appreciate, because none of us are going to stop buying or selling on there. We're addicted.
Yeah. Well, I hate StockX, though.
Do you hate it enough to where, well, you know what? We're going to talk about that too.
StockX, wait, I don't care. I've used StockX twice, and it's not even logged in on my phone anymore. Like, I haven't had it logged in. One of my boys works for StockX. I love the guy dearly. I just don't like StockX. Now,
and I also did say this, where StockX within itself, StockX GOAT, anybody who likes or dislikes, you have to be a certain level of sneaker collector, connoisseur, whatever you want to call it, to be able to be that confident enough to be like, get this off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Not the general sneaker collector, whatever. They don't have that ability to. They don't know how to hustle or make the connections or something to get something without having to go to those.
Yeah, I mean, that is the epitome of disdain. I like literal disdain, disgust when you're standing on a fucking sneaker line and the person in front, behind, around, near is on their phone looking at StockX trying to figure out what size to buy. If I listen, I'm a changed man. Like I haven't been this person in many a year. Like I don't care what anyone says. Like listen, I'm getting older. Like I don't even think about things I don't even want to put my hands on anybody. But when I see that, the amount of rage that builds up inside of me, just I have to walk away or not even entertain what's going on because I will snap out. Like it's that infuriating to me. But that's just me.
I 100% agree. So just real quick, going back to the Hype Report. So is it going to come back in a different form or is it kind of just done?
I think it depends on feedback. Like it's a numbers thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I think you touched on it before. Where you're like, oh, support like content, support good content. Like
right.
People would rather listen to sound effects and noises and zoom in and zoom out and cracking on someone who comes in high to do an interview than actual content. So in today's like regard, like it's hard to put out content and get the correct responses. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It's tricky, especially for like big business, because that's what that is. It's big business. They're more worried about like what the engagement looks like and what, you know, the feedback is. Like if more people are like, hey, you guys should have Rich Homie Quan on and he should be high, like they're like, oh, so there you guys weren't listening to the episode. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's where I lose it. And that's where like some of the discouragement does come from when you are a content creator. And let me put this way. The discouragement when you're putting out great content, but other content is getting the attention that is needed. Like I said, Hype Report, your opinions, your stuff like that. It's valued by me. And I put it in that sense because I've listened to some of the other shows on Hypebeast, and I wasn't that impressed. Like, a lot of people get caught up in the names of something. Like, whoa, they're about to talk to, you know, and this is just an example, they're about to talk to Sean Witherspoon. You know, depending on how a Sean Witherspoon might feel that day, it might be a bad episode.
Yeah, how to use that guy? I fucking hate him. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Of all people, fucking that guy. All right.
Like, and it's like, you know, how he feels or how somebody might know how to talk to somebody like that. It could be a bad episode. It could be bad content, but somebody would be like, oh my God, you talked to the guy who created the 97.1. That's fire.
Yeah. In that regard, like I listen. I get where like a lot of people, it's a celebrity thing too, because people like idolize certain people. I guess Sean Witherspoon is idolizable. I don't know if that's a word, whatever. To the point where when they hear his name or they know about a shoe that he designed that's going for $1,000, because that's really what like the equation to popularity in sneakers has become, is what the resell is on the shoe that you put out or you're involved with is. Because obviously, like before that, we're round two. Who's at round two? I don't think anybody was fucking round two. And the way that he won was equally as disgusting as, you know, the person. You put a fucking voting booth in your store so that way everybody who came in would vote for you. It was a popularity contest. And like, I'm pretty sure other people have said this. I'm pretty sure it's been on a multitude of channels where like, if you really want to have an honest vote, you don't put anybody's name next to anything and you just put it up. That's it.
Yeah.
You take that shit away from it.
I have had, you know, a lot of issues with the Nike voting and the voting process of that. So I do 100% get that, you know, and it's one of those things where it's never going to leave. It's a popularity thing, like you said. Like, and when you go back to, actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but Hype Report. So, like I said, I enjoy the show. I do enjoy the information that you were able to put out in the amount of time. I hate that it might not come back, or it might, or whatever it is, but, you know, I enjoy that aspect of content from you. Like, I think it's very underrated and it's underappreciated.
I appreciate that 100%. Honestly, I felt like it was something that the community and like, I think social channels needed. It was something that touched on everything and it gave you a little bit of insight. And if you only like shoes, like you heard a little bit about art, but it wasn't too much, because that was like my main thing. I was like, listen, we can't go over a certain amount of minutes on each topic. Like that was my main focus because I didn't want to lose people in a 30-minute conversation about a piece of art they've never heard of from an artist they don't know. So like it was very important to have that quick rollover, which is me kind of conforming to today's social media because it's like fast. What's next? Who's got the next thing? What's the next hot thing? What's the next thing I can buy? Like that's like the temperament and the speed in which things happen now on social because you got TikTok and it's 60 seconds of whatever you want. You got Instagram, it's a minute, or you can do an IG live which nobody watches. Like there's just a whole bunch of ins and outs to speed. So you know what? You got to make it quick.
Yeah, that's where I get concerned with like sometimes with like our show. Our show can go from an hour to 3 hours, you know. And I've been having really good conversation with people and it's gone 3 hours and I've been worried about, I know somebody, like me personally, I don't like video. I hate doing it. I hate doing it because the podcast to me is supposed to be audio. That's a podcast to me.
Agreed.
But when you're talking about the sneaker community and you are talking about an object like a sneaker, people want to see the graphic on the screen. They want to see the sneaker, what you're talking about, especially when I talk about back in the day and OG sneakers and back in 8th grade. And I'm talking about something that hasn't been retro yet. They want to see what that looks like. And, you know, I've kind of just adjusted to it and gotten used to it. But like you said, not everybody's going to sit in front of YouTube for 3 hours. And I know it and I see it, but that's how I like to put my content out. Like, I think the art of it is like, man, you talked for 2.5 hours last week and you can talk another 3 this week. I feel that's an art.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's something like when I was in the gym and I was like on the treadmill for like the hour or whatever I was doing. What I was doing, I was throwing on an episode and I was just listening to the episode. I mean, I know you guys are, you know, you have your video up because I put it on YouTube, but like I'm watching the entire video, but I'm really just listening to it while I'm on the treadmill for the hour. And then what I did was I would stop at that point and the next day I would finish the episode. So like it wasn't like a terrible thing, especially when the conversations are flowing. I'm like, oh, I can listen to this all day long. But that's if you like sneakers. That's the other thing too. If you like and respect the person's perspective, it doesn't matter how long it is. You're only worried about the amount of time because a lot of people were like, listen, people that listen to stuff that I do, they're like, yo, could you make this longer? I would love to hear more about such and such. And I was like, listen, man, I totally get that. But in the fashion of keeping up with, you know, how fast Hypebeast is because it's a fast network as it is, they're putting out 20 to 30 pieces of content a day just on one social platform. They have 8. So like I have to keep it fast for the other people that aren't able to keep up with what I'm saying. So like it's like a give and take. But when you have the core people that listen to what you do, it doesn't matter how long it is because they're going to listen regardless.
100%. And that's why I try to like advertise it as this is some content for your week. Not today, for your week. Like spread it out.
It's gonna keep going.
Right, yeah, you're right. So I was gonna ask you, you've been buying anything, any pickups, anything since you've been quarantined?
I'm not gonna lie, like I've realized that my pickups have been very in tune with my wallet. Instead of overspending and being like, oh, I'm not worried about it. Like I've been very conscious about my purchases. So like I've been sticking with stuff that really just I want. That's like, luckily I can still buy the stuff that I want. But like, I think Stussy was like the biggest purchase that I made because I had to pay resale for them. Shout outs to you know who for that. Like I put it up. He didn't even charge me that much over, but I paid him over what he asked me for because I felt like he did the right thing. So it was all good. I didn't really care about that. But yeah, that was like the biggest purchase I think I made, and everything else was kind of just chilling. What did I buy? I bought those. I bought this is before the quarantine, the UNC AJ3s. I thought that was just like summer essential. Like you just need those.
And that's one I still need. Like I need it.
Yeah, you can find them though. Like it's not like a hard shoe, you know?
Right.
Like I didn't even have to rush to buy them. I could probably get them on a discounted rate somewhere if I wanted to look hard enough. But Air Max 1 Pastels, they did like this it was like Easter time or around Easter.
Right.
No, it was way before Easter, like 3 weeks before Easter, because I bought them to match a hoodie that I made. And they popped up on Nike. They're like, Nike never sends me anything. I don't know how or why, but they sent me like a early purchase for this Air Max 1. It was like a women's joint, I think. So it's like lavender mesh. It's got mint, yellow, green.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like I copped those. I thought those were like an essential. I haven't even worn them yet. So like I'm just waiting for the right time to wear them. Kith, the 992s, the New Balance joints. Those were another like necessity. I think that was during quarantine also. Yeah, that was during quarantine because I just woke up and it popped up. The pink joints, I don't know if you saw them. The dust pink.
Oh, yeah.
The 992s. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, the Volts. I just bought the Atmos Volts.
Atmos Volt what?
The 90s that they dropped yesterday.
Oh, okay. You got those?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I didn't even like the infrared pair. The infrared pair was ugh. I thought it was like, nah.
Which is better?
The Volt, 100%.
Really? Okay. See, I didn't like the infrared one, but then like as the weeks went by, I started seeing people kind of post them on the feed. I was like, oh, these actually, they're not that bad. They're okay. I really liked the initial pictures of the Volt ones. I haven't seen anybody on foot yet or anything yet, so I guess I'll kind of wait for that to happen. But I didn't try for them. I might regret it, but Air Max 90s to me, I'm just. And people get bothered when I say this. Air Max 90s are just the model is washed to me. Like, it's a legendary model. I'm talking a top 5, top 10 model of all time. It is, but it's something about. I've said this over and over. The Air Max 1 and the 97, we've been hit with it so much. And the Air Max 97 is the greatest Air Max of all time to me. Air Max 1 is probably across the board to everybody else, but I feel like they took so long to really start trying to amp up the 90 without the Off-White collaborations and stuff like that, like once it came back, it kind of lackluster.
I mean, they also retooled the 90 way too many times, which is where I lost like respect for it, I guess you could say. They made it was like a sneaker boot almost, and then they made it into a sneaker boot. Was like 3 years ago they made that stupid Air Max 90 sneaker boot. It was like Teflon. Right. The weirdest shit ever. Anyway, I like didn't like the way it looked. Now that they brought it back to the original Air Max 3 styling, where it's low profile, I like it way more. Like it reminds me of an earlier time in my life. So like for me, like that's what resides. But like Air Max 90 was never my favorite model to begin with. Like Tailwind, I love Tailwinds. I mean, you can't lose on a Tailwind. 97s, of course, and 1s. 95s too. Like don't sleep on 95s. But I think like it has to do with like when you grew up and what you were wearing at that time to what you love about Air Max.
The 95, like I think growing up, the 95 was like the one that was like that reigned supreme. The 95 was everybody's favorite. As I got older and our clothes and fit started changing, I started losing the love for 95s. I got to one point to where I was mad disrespectful to 95s because I would wear them and I would be like, good Lord, like, it feels nothing like any other Air Max. Like, it is thick, it is heavy, and the tongue always I hated it, kind of moved around too much. And then I think probably about January or something, I started wearing my OG Neons or Volts, regularly. And I was like, God, these are such a good shoe. It's such a really good quality shoe that, like, withstood the time. Agreed.
100% agreed. Listen, 95 was like the... Oh, you got it like that pair back in like, what was that, 96? 96 right. Was like a year. Like 95 just killed it. Obviously, 96, 95. But you couldn't go anywhere without seeing that gray, orange pair, the infrared pair, or the Bolt pair, or the blue pair. The blue pair was like ridiculous. And then, what was it, Flint's? Not Flint's. Yeah, Flint 13s. Flint 13s followed up after that. And it was just a color comparison, the grays, the blues, like everything just worked. I was in high school, so like, it was like fashion show every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's 100% fact. Like, I mean, a lot of the Air Max colorways, the 95s, are very underrated. You talk about the blues. Those blues, I mean, love those. Like, those are a lot underrated. And I like the pink ones that just recently came out. I don't know what it's called, Dust Rose or whatever it's called. Those are clean, too.
I'm gonna grab those. I'm gonna grab those in the 90s with the pink. I just gotta wait.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna wait. There's a lot of things that you're like that I do want to buy, but my mindset is like, dang it, like I want to buy them now because they are priced reasonably because no one's going anywhere, and I'm concerned with like I'm waiting to where we can actually really, really go somewhere, and then the prices might shoot up on them.
I feel like the price is gonna drop once they open stores up just to get people in them. So like I'm kind of banking on that when like people do another price drop, like, oh, we're having a sale in store, come check it out, and they want like that foot traffic. That's right. When I'm going to think, all right, it's time to pick up some shit.
Oh, no, that's 100% going to happen. But see, like, you live in New York. I live in Arizona. So anything that, like, you might be able to walk into a store and get, I guarantee I can't here. So, well, and if somebody does have it here, it may be like one store.
Well, you got options, man. hit me up.
Oh no, definitely. Like, and that's why we had talked about I talked with Kixie Jixie last week, and we're talking about like Kith and stuff like that. And we're talking about the shopping experience. Like, it's a different feeling when you're in like a big city. When you're in New York, or when I go back to California, anywhere that is like what I consider the big city bias. That big city bias, they get everything. They get all the sneaker hunts and all the special stuff, whatever. But it is a different feeling when you can walk into like a Kith, or you can walk into, something like that in the Atmos, wherever you can walk into, and everything is there. It's not just the basics. It's like, yo, I've seen these online, but they're here in my hand and I could buy if I want to.
I think that's part of the allure to like the tourism attraction when people do shop there. Because I'm like, how do people spend this much money on fucking Kith? And then like I'm like, oh, because they've probably never seen the shoe in hand and like how good it looks. And like it's one thing to look at something online, but it's another thing to like grab it in your hand and be like, oh, you have it in my size too. I'm buying it. I don't care. That impulse is real.
Yeah, no, when you're right. When the Boost was at its like extreme height, I don't think there's a single store in the state of Arizona. I mean, we had Bloomingdale's, but it went out of business. I don't think any of our Nordstroms do. I don't think there's a single store here that sold any Y3. I've never had seen Y3 Adidas in hand ever. So when I went to Kith, and I mean, Y3 is a little bit more expensive. I was in there buying them up, and I'm like, why'd I do this? Love them. Like I love them.
The Y3 store is about 4 blocks from Kith.
Facts. And I went into that store, and I was surprised at how many people were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks so good. Like, that's one thing with New York. New York stores, they're set up so well. They look so good. It makes you want to buy. It makes you feel ridiculous if you go in and don't buy.
Yeah, they make you feel like you're broke. They make you feel like you're broke if you don't like go in there and buy something. Like the store is clean, it's pristine. Like they don't even talk to you. They're like, wait, you want something? All right, what is it that you want? Like it's crazy. Like sometimes I get annoyed shopping in New York.
Yeah, but see, like out here, it's like I will only go into a Gucci or somewhere if I know I'm going to buy something. Yeah. There's no point for me to walk around in there and look, because our Gucci store out here, it's going to have a few people in it. Not a lot. You go into a Gucci store in New York, it'd be packed.
Yeah, they'll walk right by you. They don't care. They wait for you to come to them and be like, what are you buying? Oh, you want that $60,000 carry-all? Cool, we got it. That's like a normal purchase. That is like a normal thing that happens on a Tuesday at 12 o'clock in the Gucci store. Like that they don't care.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So I did want to talk to you about like sneaker buying and collecting and stuff like that. And you kind of touched on it with, people wanting you to like show off whites and stuff like that. And, me and Swanger, we've had these conversations many times about, New Balances and stuff like that. And like the New Balance, the Adora Asics, and how they're not kept or put on the pedestal that they probably should be. And it's probably more due to the sneakerhead.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, if there's a statement in there to be made, it's just that it's not the hypest item. When it was the hypest item, it was in everyone's closet.
See, what does the hypest item mean?
To me, personally, it's the thing that's selling the most right now. That is the only thing that drives hype. The hype was, to me personally, derived from the acquisition of sales through whatever it is that you are buying. So, like, if I can buy something and make bad money on it, like tickets to a Travis Scott show, hype. Those are hype tickets. Like, I don't care what you say, because there's resale on them. Off-white ones, the fucking most hype item because there's resale on them. It's just one of those things that resonates when you. What can you associate with hype? I'll ask you. What do you associate with hype?
I mean, the easy answer would be the internet. I mean, you could, your Off-White, your Travis Scott, when you talk about hype, those are the easy answers as well. It's like when I think of hype, it's the one thing that, like, I feel like lately I haven't been able to fully measure, like, perfectly. So Off-White, Travis Scott, sure, hype, fly out the door. This Ben & Jerry's Dunk that's getting ready to come out, hype, everyone wants it, clearly. But then there are certain things that have been, I will say this, the Carolina Jordan 3, I don't know if I viewed that as hype, but I had no idea it would sell out as well as it did. I didn't think. I thought the Red 3, it's sitting on shelf stills. I thought that had a level of hype with All-Star Weekend. I would have thought that would have killed.
So like there's reverse engineering on that. So like the one that they dropped for All-Star Weekend with the Shy on the back is different than the one that they drop now. And then they dropped it again, but it was already too late because the sales had already peaked. Like I just equate everything. Okay, so like let me break it down a little bit more. So like I do releases for certain stores. Kith is another store that I do releases for. So like on any given day that they're dropping an exclusive item or a hype item or something that's going to sell or resell or has resale, I'll go out and like I'll organize the line. I'll help security, orchestrate stuff. I'll handle raffle in person, whatever the situation is. I'll go and do that. 9 times out of 10, the way to gauge the easiest to know if there's going to be a crowd or no crowd. 1, is it a limited item? If it's a limited item, it's going to sell. 2. If it's up on StockX already and the prices are high, there's going to be people outside camping, whether they want them or don't want them for themselves. 3, what time of the week it is. If it's a Thursday, you don't have to worry as much because Supreme would normally be open. If Supreme is open, that's going to have the highest resale of whatever's going on for that day. And most people will be there trying to purchase or acquire whatever they're dropping just for the hype reasons and because there's money to be made. So in every one of those equations, like money is a common denominator of what is happening that day. And again, I'm in New York, so it's a little bit easier because you got Kith, you got Extra Butter, you got Supreme, you got Noah, you got all of these stores, you got Ami. All of these stores are in like a 5-block radius of one another. So like they're flowing back and forth to try and make these sales. But to me, the most common thing is how much money can be made off of the item, and that's what drives the hype. And the thing that makes them feel like it's going to be worth the most money is because of social. So like it's social and the amount of money to be made. So if I see it a lot on social, that means people are going to want to buy it. People are going to want to buy it. I'm going to go out there and try and camp for it. If I go and camp for it and I create a line, more people are going to try and get to it because obviously it's a limited item. Like it's just all 3 things kind of tying together on every single level.
Do you feel that there are a lot of product that are unworthy of like
Yes.
the hype? Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yes, 100%. You want me to name a few? Or?
I mean, yeah. I mean, keep whatever you want to add to that because I don't get the when there is like certain hype for certain things. Like we could, it's really hard to gauge that from like just your general people you might conversate with on social media or friends or whatever the case may be. Like there are certain people that think like, so when the Travis Scott dunk came out, I always liked it. I thought it was great, but I knew way more people who hated it than they loved it. And then I will probably say 2 days after everyone realized they weren't getting it or didn't get it, you know what? These aren't too bad now. I kind of like them now.
You know what that is? That is that same feeling when you have a shoe and someone goes, "Do you have these?" Yeah, I got those. That's that same feeling. That's what that is. Like, I'm not a big dunk person. Everybody knows that on my channel. I have a few ones that I think I couldn't go without. I need them for my collection, even though it's not really part of the collection. It's just a color that I really wanted, and I liked it, so I wanted to buy it. I don't think they're comfortable. I don't like dunks for comfortability. I mean, not dunks, SBs, I should say. Dunks I can wear because they're not SBs with a poofy tongue. So that gets a little confused with people in regard to this conversation, but we'll talk about that after. So what we're talking about right now is someone going, I don't like a shoe. It comes out, and then they go, yeah, I kind of like that shoe. Now, is it hype? Is it your ego? Is it the resale? There are plenty of extenuating factors that might play into that. Sure. But if at the base root, I know you and you were like, yo, Mike, I can't stand this shoe. And then like 4 weeks later, you were like, yo, finally saw it in hand and I'm kind of feeling it. I'd be like, cool, you should definitely try and get it. But if you were a 17-year-old who was like, yo, I hate that shoe. And then 4 weeks later, you were like, I saw it in hand. I kind of like it. I'd be like, Hypebeast. It's just how I would look at it. And it's messed up, but that's how I view it.
But why would you look at it that way?
Because I feel like there are people in your immediate surroundings. Like you have a much richer, deeper history with shoes. And that's not a knock at anybody who doesn't have that. This is just me saying that you have a different appreciation than some others.
Okay, now does that only qualify for certain sneakers? So like I'm sorry, what?
It qualifies for all sneakers that you like.
So if somebody doesn't like, let's just say an off-white Presto, let's say they don't like that, and then let's say a 17-year-old doesn't like that, and then sees that in hand and says, yo, I need this, this is fire, you would consider that a hype piece?
Yes, there's context to that. So like, I don't want to just completely paint you in a box, because then that kind of makes me somebody I don't want to be. But what I will say is it depends on the context of the conversation. I know a lot of young dudes that have a deep appreciation for shoes. Now, Off-White Presto should automatically be associated with hype and a want for something that's cool, if that's what you want to say, just because it's an Off-White Presto. Now, in regards to Prestos, if you like Prestos and you are a Presto person and you were like, yo, I hate Off-White, but that Off-White Presto is fire, I'd be like, yo, I get it 100%. If you're someone who's never liked a Presto, doesn't like the colorway, doesn't like Off-White, and goes, I need that fucking shoe, I might have to view you a little differently. You know what I'm saying? There's context to everything.
So a lot of people got mad at me one time because I had said, I feel like there are certain sneakers, and I would probably say a Off-White Presto. I feel like if you don't have or hadn't had any other Prestos, you shouldn't be losing your minds for these ones.
That is a perfect way to put that. You shouldn't be losing your mind for them. If you go, I like the shoe. If I get it, I get it. Cool. But if you go, I don't know what I'm going to trade 3 shoes and my firstborn child for them, then there's something wrong here. Like, why?
Yeah, because let's like Jordan 3s for me. I have, no joke, I have probably owned almost every colorway of a Jordan 3 except like Dorenbecker 3 and maybe like 1 or 2 other ones. I buy them every single time, but they have never looked good on me. None of them. I put them on. It don't matter what type of pants, baggy pants, skinny pants, shorts. They look awful on me. And I kind of view how they feel kind of like a SB. Just something's puffy about them. And then the red ones and then the Carolina ones came out. I love both of those. But I said I would feel ridiculous owning both of those when I sold the OG Cement 3 and the 88 3s. I feel like I couldn't buy those until I go back and buy those.
Well, that's crazy. I think that's your own demons you have to deal with on that one. But like, if you like a shoe enough, like buy it. Like, so like somebody hit me up because I bought the Syracuse and Kentucky Dunks. Like, it was like some hater shit. He hits me up and he's like, oh, you like Dunks now? And like my response was simple: I like orange and I like blue. That's it. Like, it's that simple. Like, I like orange. Actually, I wrote like a paragraph of disdain. But like, realistically, the base root of the situation is I like orange and I like blue. If that means that dunk is orange and I buy it because it's orange, that's why I bought the shoe. If I bought it because it's blue, I bought it because it was blue. I don't give a fuck if it was a Y3 sneaker boot. Like, I bought the weirdest fucking sneakers because I like the color blocking and I thought I could kill it. I might not have killed it with the fit, sure, but that was me wilding out. But at the end of the day, the base root of why I bought that fucking thing was because I liked the way it looked.
But then wouldn't that go back to like calling the 17-year-old? Okay, you know what? Let's make the guy older. Let's say he's 40 years old.
Okay,
and
that
he
helps.
doesn't. Okay, now because me, I'm 37. Okay, he doesn't like Prestos. Never has, never will. Hated them. Thought they were weird. Hated the sizing. Blah blah blah. But then the Off-White one comes out. Yo, must cop. Need auto cop. Does that make him a hype beast?
I love that you used all of the hypebeast terms and asked me if that makes him a hypebeast. Yes, that makes him a hypebeast. But then I have to ask, what did he go through to get them? So I don't want to sound like that guy, but like, you know, the Dunks came out. I didn't fight anybody. I didn't enter a raffle. I bought them and that was it. Both colors. I was like, okay, I'll buy both colors. I don't care. I'm not fighting to get them. If a shoe passes, like this is I'll give you a perfect example. The Atmos that just dropped. I entered a couple raffles. I didn't know if I was going to hit. Somebody was like, yo, you need them. Like, no, man. If I hit, I hit. If I don't, I don't. Like, I'm okay. I'm okay if I don't get a shoe. There are certain shoes that I'm not okay with not getting. So like, I'll pay $1,000. I'll pay what I need to pay. I'll trade what I need to trade to get that shoe. And it's not because I want to immediately flex it, because that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in my closet, and when I feel it's right and it fits with a fit, I'm going to wear it. Now, if you're that 40-year-old and you need that shoe, like you're going to donate blood, you're going to work at a food line. I'm going to get these shoes when they come out. Like, how do you covet them? Do you covet them as something you keep in your closet to be sold later on because you know the price is going to go up? Like, what do you need them for? Like, there's levels to the purchase as well, because I know plenty of people that, you know, need shoes and never wear them. And then what happens is the price goes up and they go, yeah, I can get rid of these. So you didn't really need them. You just wanted them because people were putting them up for sale. Like, yeah, there's so many different degrees of like how people buy and why people buy. And I'm not knocking any of them. You could do whatever the fuck you want with your money. Please enjoy yourself. But then don't come to like a communal area of people who really love and enjoy sneakers and try to say, well, I love and enjoy sneakers too. I just sell a lot of them.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
That it's tough. I know, because like, and me, listen, I can talk to anybody. I can show it. I don't really, at the end of the day, like, it's not going to make me view you any different, but like a part of me feels like, all right, well, if you really love sneakers, like, what's in your closet? Like, okay, cool. All right, you got a lot of shoes. You have a lot of hype stuff. You don't wear any of it. You wear your Air Max 1s that you beat the shit out of all the time. And in your closet, you shoes that are worth, you know, upwards of 1,000, 600, 1,200, 1,500, and you're just waiting for them to be sold. Like that to me is like a whole different level. Like, you are into stocks, and that's your thing. You like stocks, but you found money to be made in sneakers, so that's what you're doing now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that is the same thing.
You know, that's a good point, because like I had said last week, I unDS'd my Travis Scott 6s just to go to the grocery store. And I really love the shoe, and the Jordan 6 to me is the greatest Jordan of all time to me. But I think that's why they were DS for so long, because, you know, I want to keep that option open to sell it, which during quarantine has made me say to myself, dude, I can't sit here and say how much I love it if I'm still contemplating getting rid of it.
Yes. But that's a healthy decision for you to make as someone who loves shoes. You actually have that thought process. Like, you're thinking about it. People don't have that. Some people, let me say that. Some people don't have that. They just have the process of, it's going for 450 now. I'm going to cop it at 450. Hold on to it till it hits 850. Like, yeah. Like look at can I talk shit about GOAT? Look at GOAT, right? So like, you can buy a shoe, right? And you can leave it with them.
Right.
You don't even have to get it to your house. You can just leave it with them. And then when the price goes up, they can ship it out for you.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even think they even realize that's an option on there. Like, you can buy it and it says like whatever they call it. Yeah. And they'll keep it and, you know, whatever later. And that's part of that instant ship, you know. That is a smart, listen to me very carefully. When GOAT first started, not to go too far off topic, I was like, I hope that they partner with a flight club or Stadium Goods so you can have that quick drop off. I mean, it happened 2 years later, which is good. But like, that was my immediate process. I was like, listen, just because I don't agree with what's going on doesn't mean I have any disdain for it. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. The world has to turn somehow, and everybody's different. So it's just the way we live. But at the end of the day, like, that's what the sneaker, I hate saying it, community has become. Like, it's just a monetization of whatever it is that you want. And they're the core people. I consider you a core person, like, that still love and are shoes. Brooklyn Basquiat. There are a lot of people that, like, I, you know, out of the corner of my eye, like, everybody's busy, but I try to pick up on as much as I can and read between the lines as much as I can, because that's who I am. And, you know, I see certain people comment on certain things, and I see them in comment sections, and I catch the DMs, and I see the pictures that they post, and I'm like, you know, I appreciate who you are and what you're doing, even if you don't know that I do. Like, I like every photo that's on my feed. If I follow you, I like your photos. If they show up in my feed,
I'm tapping it. That's because why am I following you if I'm not going to tap on your photo? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not that type of person. Like, it's just free love. Like, who gives a shit? But at the end of the day, like, I still have to think about other things that happen in our community.
You know, well, let me go back real quick. Why don't you like Community?
I feel like it's taken. There are a lot of things going on within the quote unquote community that make it not a community. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying because I was going to ask you about some of that.
Yeah. So I just feel like it's not something you can't call it a community if people act the way that they act. Like, to me, community means that, like, there's a certain level of camaraderie and, you know, hey, like, just before you were like, oh, I have a hard time finding stuff. Like, if you hit me up, like, I'm not the type of person like, yeah, no, I got you. And then you'll never hear from me again. Like, I will honestly go to the store and get it for you and hit you up while I'm in the store. Like, hey, listen, it's 1:15. Send me 1:15. I'll tell you what the shipping is later. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what type of person I am. Like, I don't listen, anybody who's listening to this, please don't flood my DMs. Like, I do it for people when I'm in a position to do it. Like, it is what it is. So, like, and like, I don't charge people. Like, I could probably have a lot more money in my bank account right now if I charge people for the sneakers that I've gotten for them. But that's not me, because I feel like community is a sense of, I respect who you are, I respect who you collect, and even people who, like, I might not even like who they are potentially, but like, they're still an acquaintance of mine. Like, if they ask me for a favor, I'm still going to do it, and I'm still not going to charge them. Like, that's just, you know, that's what your community is. Sometimes you don't like your neighbor, you know what I'm saying? But like, you're still your neighbor, so like, you're gonna hook your neighbor up. Like,
now, how you're describing it is a real, it's a real common sense way of thinking. Like, it's like, I get it, but it does go back to, like, because lately I have been feeling really weird. I mean, with sneakerhead, that topic, I've always felt weird. Like, sneakerhead, that's always sounded crazy to me. But like, the use of like sneaker community and sneaker culture, I feel like it's been used so incorrectly lately because of how people do act. Now, I'm just going to ask you this really quick before we keep going. I was told by, you know, John, right? Disney Kicks, John King.
Yeah.
Okay. So he had hit me up like, yo, did I watch something? And now I knew it was happening. And I said, I don't know if I want to go watch this video. Okay. And I said, I don't know if I want to go watch it.
Not even knowing this conversation.
Okay. So he said, yo, this is crazy, yada, yada, yada. So I didn't watch it when it took place. And I went and rewatched it on YouTube. And they had the live chat where, like, you can see the chat as it happens. You know, YouTube works, you know. So I'm going through, and it was one of the things, too, that added to why I do consider you more intellectual in the sneaker community, if you will. But it was shocking to me about how some were acting on the topics with regards to race in sneakers. Yep. Mm-hmm. It was shocking to me on how the message was delivered. It was so many things to me that I thought, this isn't helpful and this doesn't solve anything.
Listen, if you were reading the comments, you can see, like, I was deliberately trying to ask and diffuse while asking questions. Like, there was like a purpose, and I had so much more to say, but I couldn't relay it correctly without assuming, this is my assumption, that they would take it the wrong way. So I withdrew some of my comments and statements just because, like, I couldn't relay it correctly without it being something that I thought would be taken out of proportion. Like, it wasn't healthy. It was very divisive, and facts were missing, and I know facts were missing. So, like, for me, like, that's not a debate. You know, it's hard for me to say you guys are having a really good debate about a topic if everybody has the same perspective. And, you know, to some of their, like, I spoke to someone, one of the gentlemen that was on the show after, and, like, we clarified a lot of things and like viewpoints and, like, what was actually being relayed in what was saying. Because I feel like common sense was lost quite a bit in there because a lot of emotion took over. And I had to, like, tell him, I'm like, listen, man, it sounds like this. And I'm pretty sure that's not what you were trying to say. And he's like, no, that's not what I was trying to say at all. So, like, I'm glad that we spoke. But at the end of the day, like, that is not it. That was disheartening for me.
Okay, that's how I viewed it, and I would never. I don't usually participate or watch any of that stuff, anyways. And if it wasn't for John telling me to, I wouldn't have, because
him. I'm not gonna lie.
Say what?
I think I told him to watch it.
Oh, really? Okay. So it really did dishearten me, because, like you said, a conversation or a topic of that magnitude, it cannot be full of everybody with the same mindset. And I could tell, and I no joke, and this is no joke, not just because I have you on here. As soon as I watched that, after I watched it, I was gonna hit you up like, I got to get you on, and I didn't. In the mindset of that moment was to get you on to talk about that. But I was like, no, I don't want to talk to Mike about that, because Mike is way more smarter than that and bigger than that. I don't want that to be the basis of why you and I finally had a conversation. I could tell in your comments you were holding back and trying to ask it in a way that could be read correctly by everyone. And because there's no context, there's no tone, there's no nothing with questions that you read in the chat when the chat is just like scrolling. It's just people just commenting everything. You know what I mean? It's just blah. Like, yo, like, I mean, the chat itself, which is why, live chats have always been difficult to me, because there are some people in there with like really good things to say or comment or questions, and then there's a lot of people in the chat who are like talking to other people in the chat. Yo, what up? Hey, Bill. Yo, where you at, man? Yo, what's good, bro? Hadn't talked to you in a while. Man, get the heck out of here. Go do something. So I felt like even your questions were really like straight to the fourth. I want to get a better understanding of what you're trying to say, and it wasn't getting taken that way.
Yeah. It was
getting taken as if you were against what others were saying.
I mean, technically, I'm not against, but I'm more for, the opportunity for open thinking on the subject. And if you're not going to lay out all of the facts, and you're not going to even address the most obvious fact, is that like what you're saying or what you're doing is creating this scenario, that you have to understand that that's what you're doing. You can't take ownership of that. You can't not take ownership of that, I should say. What you're saying might be this, but what's being relayed is actually this. You need to clarify that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then, they tried to. They honestly tried to clarify it, but again, when everybody has the same perspective, you can't clarify. And then the narrator was actually changing what people were saying to fit her narrative. So like it was one of those things where I was like, I can't even talk anymore, because this isn't even it's not gonna resolve itself. So I just stopped.
No, and do you feel like the topic itself, or like even some of those facts that were missing, does you feel like at this point when it comes to sneakers and stuff, a lot of that stuff even needs to be highlighted?
So I think that some things need to be highlighted. Some things do need to be addressed. I think it's, and I've had this conversation before. I had a conversation with a young lady about, what's the word? A humanist or a feminist. I am a humanist. And she was with a couple of her friends, and the friends understood what I was trying to say, is that I'm a humanist. Like, I don't want to see black. I don't want to see white. I don't want to see Spanish. I don't want to see women. I just want to see people. And like the respect that I treat you with, I would like that same respect treated, or I would treat a woman, whether she's 60 or 10 with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to give you the opportunity to help me understand you. And it doesn't matter all of the extra stuff. If you've been to jail, if you've been a CEO, I don't care. Like, there are extenuating circumstances for everyone. And that to me is being human with everyone. Now, if you want me to just be a feminist, that means I have to be disrespectful to men. Do I have to be disrespectful to certain people? Like, I don't understand that. To me, like, you're creating a separation when we already have separation. That's how I view it. And like, the more separate we are, the less unified we are.
Now, how do you feel does that equate, or do you even feel that equates to, quote unquote, the sneaker community?
I feel like some things just don't need to be in certain places.
Okay,
Like
I agree.
it doesn't need to be there. I feel like if you have a love for shoes, like you have a love for shoes, and that is why I can't say community, because there needs to, you got fucking 13 different sub communities in a community for a community about one thing. Like, how the fuck is that possible? Like, what?
That's a very good point.
Well, you got a subcommittee for the committee, for the other committee, for the third committee, for the YouTube committee, for the fucking Instagram committee, for the TikTok community about sneakers. But some are for the hip hop artists, and some are for the rock guys, and some are for the skater guys, and some like, bro, the shoes, it's fucking shoes. Like, we like shoes. That's it. That's how I.
And that's where, like, when watching that, you know, that YouTube show or whatever it was, man, like I found it disheartening, because I do feel like when it comes to sneakers and stuff like that, that is our getaway from what the real world is about. I know the divisiveness that's happening in the real world. I see it. It's gross. I see that on a daily basis. And when it starts sneaking into sneakers, like, we're talking about, I don't want to sound like Iverson, but we're talking about sneakers here. Like, I don't want to have to be like, yo, why the white girl got shine in that? Like, I can't express my disdain for a complex and then express my disdain for what they're not doing. I either don't like you or I don't like you.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Did you watch Netflix series called Black AF? Black as fuck?
No, not as yet. I haven't watched it yet.
I watch it. Watch it, and then like towards like the end, you'll get kind of where I want to go with this. Maybe we can pick this conversation up again. But like, basically, it's like being honest with everyone. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I don't care if I'm mixed, I'm black and I'm white. So like, we can't even get into like the disdain family has. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has their own thing. I love shoes. I love fits. I like going out and feeling like $1 million. Guess what? My fit does that. I like it. I don't care if it makes me shallow. It's just something that I like, and that's
love
me.
It.
Is what it is. So like, when you start to take that and bring in a whole nother thing that I don't really give a fuck about, like, that's not something I want. Not that I don't care about it. It's not something that I want to spill into my happiness. This is my happiness. I do sneakers for a living. I'm a photographer. I do take pictures. I like create content. Like that, not just for my gram, for other gram. Like that's what I do because I like it that much. Like, and none of that has anything to do with my day to day. So how did that happen?
That's what I try to tell people when I talk about sneakers growing up and stuff like that. I'm sorry. Like you said, you said shallowness. Man, I don't care. Man, there is nothing, and there has never been nothing in a better feeling than coming with a fresh pair of kicks that you know everyone wanted or couldn't get, and have everybody in school, work, wherever you live, whatever you do on a daily basis, go, yo, that's crazy.
My first job at 13 was a sneaker store. I was wearing J's 3 weeks before they came out in school. When they came out, everybody had them. They went back in my closet.
Facts.
That was at 13. At 13, that's what I was doing. So, like, you can't tell me, and people are like, oh, you don't have ones from 1980s. I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck if I have ones from 1986. What was your first job? Well, tell me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know. And like, I hate that that even has to be a comment too. Like, people have to have conversations like that. Like, oh, how long have you been collecting? Like, I've never thought about collecting. I've probably thrown out more heat than most people have bought. Like, I'll put it like that.
You know, and that's kind of where we're at. And that's where, when I say level of sneakerhead, like, I view you and I at a certain level of sneakerhead, not at a level of meaning that like, oh, I can go get whatever I want, or, you know, we could, but the aspect of it that I mean is that, like, I hate, even with the Jordan documentary right now, love the Jordan documentary. Like, we appreciate the documentary. A lot of people appreciate it, but it's gotten to the point to where it's like, oh, I have to pull out all my posters and my jerseys and my jacket and my hat and my sneakers and my poster, my billboard and all that from 88 to show you that I've always loved Jordan.
That, to me, like, that is the epitome of sadness. Like, that's a sad day when you need that kind of, what's the word?
Affirmation?
Yes, confirmation. We need that kind of confirmation from other people. about something that you know that you care about, like, or you cared about. How old are you? 37? Okay, so that means you grew up watching Jordan. You don't need to tell me. I know you did. So, like, at the end of the day, if you said you like Jordan, I believe you. You know why? Because you grew up watching him. Like, the fuck you mean? Like, I don't need you to go back and show me you at 2 years old wearing a Jordan jacket that you didn't buy. Why? Because your parents put you in it because they like Jordan. Like, it had nothing to do with you. Like, you aren't choosing that shit at 2. Like, I get it. Like, nah, man. Listen, we can do this all fucking day.
Right. And I don't want anybody to take this as like a negative thing or towards them. Like, hey man, I threw on a pair of Rodmans, for the episode. Like, I'm not trying to like disregard anybody. It's like when Kobe passed. I felt like we all celebrated. Some people didn't even realize how much Kobe meant to them until he passed, which is a perfectly fine thing and it's good. But then I get on social media and I get stuff, and it's like everybody has to prove to me that they've liked Kobe since day one. And it's like, man, I don't need anybody to prove to me that you were a fan. I don't care if you became a fan of Kobe last year. It doesn't matter to me. Once you're a fan, you're a fan. And that's it. Once you're quote unquote a part of the sneaker community, whatever that may be for you, you can be a part of it as long as you're not trying to be divisive in it.
Agreed.
And like I said, we can go on and on and on about that. I don't want anybody to take that segment of conversation as like against them or hating on them or how they collect or what they view or whatever. Anybody's going to do whatever they want to do.
Listen, I just try to like say that even when like I talk shit about whatever, like at the end of the day, if it's what makes you happy, own it. Even if doing that makes you happy, own it. Like, that's fine. But the in retrospect to that, you don't need to. Also, if that isn't who you are, like, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. If you like it, buy it. If you don't. You don't need to do all that extra stuff for the gram. Like, especially people that post those pictures and like they're having a hard time paying their bills. Like, fuck Instagram. Like, worry about other shit. Sell that stuff. Matter of fact, sell that stuff from 88. You got a documentary. It's probably at the highest point it could be at right now. Get rid of it. Make money. Pay your bills. Like, that's more important. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I try not to be like, like you said, we've gotten rid of more sneakers, heat, OGs and stuff that people don't even know about. I mean, it's not even a question. And I always tell George when we talk about the show, I say, man, I really try to avoid, and I hate being that guy like, I had those. I had those ones. Oh, no, I had OGs. I had those too. Like, oh, no, I do. And it's like, what does it matter?
It doesn't. But you know what sucks? When you have to say that, or when you do say that, it's like conforming to the social norms now. It was that, like, people don't know that you did, because if you didn't take a picture, did it really happen? Like, I didn't grow up in that fucking lifestyle. Like, that wasn't my lifestyle. First of all, who was taking pictures when you were fucking 10 years old, unless you had a disposable? You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you're at an event, you were at a family event or a party or something, like, that's when pictures got taken. Like, it wasn't like you were just taking pictures randomly walking down the street like people do now. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh, well, imagine doing that when you were 13 years old with your boys. Just pull out your camera and start taking pictures of them. Like, what are you doing, bro? We're going to play basketball. Beat it. Like,
yeah, because you know what's crazy is, like, back in when we were growing up, the only people that I ever remember really taking pictures were girls. Like, girls would, like, you come over to their house, or like they'd have like a little disposable camera or something, and they would like print pictures and hang them up. It was rare for guys to do that. And I remember me and my friends were talking, because, man, when we were in high school, we were just so into iceberg history. Like, I still have all my iceberg Mickey sneakers, Donald Duck, all of them. And we were like, man, there's no photos of us in it. Like, it's rare. And I was like, but then you think back to the time, like you said, our cell phones we weren't taking pictures of each other. There was no reason to. What would I need to take a picture for? Now, you take a picture now to post it on social media for see.
That's it. That is the only reason to do that.
That's crazy how times have changed. Like,
I hate saying, like, oh, I remember when I was younger. Like, but like, realistically, we were outside doing shit. Like, my mom, once I was out, I wasn't allowed back in, because if I came in, I wasn't allowed back out again. Like, that was the rule. So, like, come in before that street light goes on at a certain age, and then it was once you're in, you're in. So I'd be like, oh damn, all right. So I'd be out in the street drinking water out of hoses. Like I didn't care. I was like, all right.
I know, and me and my wife were talking about the other day. I said, man, I remember when I'd get out the bed, put my clothes on, brush my teeth, eat something, and I would hop on my bike, and I wouldn't come back until God knows when. And it wasn't a worry on anyone's face, but like you said, if I kept coming in and out of the house, I had to stay in.
Yeah. She heard that door one too many times. It was a wrap. I was like, oh, that's it. You're in. That's it. Close the door.
Right.
Shut it.
And we lived like in the homes that we used to have, like where I lived, we had like this screen door, and it was like one of those screen doors that closed itself. So it like slammed, like douche, douche, douche. Like she hated that.
All the bikes in the front of the house from everybody else. Like that one day she was like, oh, I have drinks in the house, so if anybody wants to come by, and then everybody would come to your house that day. Oh my God.
That was the best.
Like, right. You could go out all day long and not worry about a thing. Like my mom would be like, oh, just come in before that light goes off. And then if that light went off and I wasn't home and she had to get in the car and drive to the block to where I was at, it was a wrap for me. Like it was over.
So let's go back to talking about let's talk about New Balance and Asics, and I want to talk about like your collection.
Oh, well, honestly, so right off the bat, Asics is the largest part of my room. Asics has the most pairs in my room. Nike's up there, but like Asics is everything.
Okay, you remember that big wave, and a lot of it started with Kith, Ronnie Fieg, when like this major wave with Asics and New Balances like hit, and I don't want to say maybe mainstream, but like I feel like a lot of us on the West Coast, Midwest didn't really know too much about a lot of the New Balances, Asics and stuff like that people on your side of the world might have been doing for a long time.
So in retrospect, like I'm gonna put it like this. So like I did construction for like 11 years. I got hurt in my job. I want to say it was like 2012, somewhere in there. And I wound up like going to, Dunk Exchange. I was at Dunk Exchange, and I see Ronnie, right? And I went to high school with him. Most people don't know that, but I went to high school. So like I was like, oh, this guy, man, it's Ronnie from high school. So like I didn't know that he was a sneaker designer. I didn't know any of this shit. I was just like, all right, whatever, bet. So like I walk up to him after the show was over. I was like, oh, what's up, man? How you been? How's things? He's like, oh, no, I'm good. And like he was like a little like apprehensive about telling me what he did. And I was like, maybe I should have known. I guess he assumed I should have known like who he was or whatever. But it's so early. Like it was like 3 years after. No, it was 4 years after 09. So when he switched off from David Z. So like, okay, I get it. Cool, fine. So I did a little research on him. I was like, oh, them shits is kind of crazy. That's clean. That's fire. So like I started like doing more research, and then I went down to Kith to pick up, I want to say it was Flamingos. Oh yeah, I think it was Flamingos. And there was like 300 people out there. I was like, what the fuck is this? What is this? For me, like I used to shop on Broadway because I worked in the city. So like I would be on Broadway at like David Z. I would be at Michael K's when Michael K's had the ill location. People in New York will know what I'm talking about. That like downstairs, and each section for like a brand had its own like little area. So like Puma had its own shit, Adidas had its own shit, but like it was all in one store. It was fire. What was the other one? Shit. Yellow Red Bastard, but they didn't have shoes. They just had like ill clothes. And then it was not Traffic. I can't remember the last name of the other place. But anyway, so like there was like stores that I shopped at, but I didn't know about this dude, even though I went to high school with him. So like I started camping out I forget what the first show I camped out for was. I can't remember. But anyway, there was like mad people, and like I'm an older dude. So like I see all these kids and they're like trying to cut and they doing funny shit. And I'm like, this is not going to fly for me. And like I said, like I was doing construction, like, listen, I was a different type of person. I'll put it like that. So like, so I was like, nah, this is not going to work for me forever. You know that, right? Like I'm going to let you guys have your thing because this is where you were at for like this release. But next time we'll see how this goes. And that's how I met Paulie Hustle too. Cause like he was supposedly running the lines, but like he was whatever. And like I got in cool. I wound up knowing the employees like Ronnie, whatever. So like I was just there, and I wound up copying mad shit. And like I was buying like Asics when they were dropping, and like still wasn't easy. Like it was still like a pain in the ass, but like that was like the start of like the camp out shit. Cause I was camping out at Extra Butter, and like I think I was out in like Long Island going to the first Extra Butter location, and we went to the LES location when they opened that up. Like there was like a lot of shit going on, and runners were it. like I didn't realize runners were it. Like they were just it at that time. Like it was like the beginning of the rise of runners. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it just took off. It was Saucony, New Balance, and Asics. Like there was just, you couldn't touch that shit.
So what happened to it, like, kind of now, in your opinion?
I think, in my opinion, like Adidas was also part of that wave because I want to say like by like the third year, the 1.0 came out, and that was like the height of runners at that point. By like 2015 maybe, I want to say we're in there like 2015. What year did the 1.0 come out? 2015 or
2015.
2015. So 2015, like Adidas kind of hit the ground running, so to speak. The shoe that they made spoke volumes. It was a bigger brand, a lot more visibility for people to see it. It was a low profile, fit with joggers. That's how they styled it. So like it worked with Asics, it worked with Saucony, it worked with New Balance, and now Adidas too. Nike obviously had Air Max 1s. They had like low profile sneakers that kind of fit the silhouette as well, but they weren't doing shit yet. Like they were retroing Jordan still, and like they were selling out because of resale, and that's how they learned about bots and buying overstock. Like it was fucking crazy. But anyway, that's a different story. So now only 4 companies are putting out the shoes that are fitting styles aesthetically, right? Nike is in the background doing their thing. So you got Ultra Boost. They do 2.0. 2.0 is not terrible. You get 3.0. People are getting played out. Asics already took a back seat because they had their 25th anniversary kind of flamed out. Saucony was kind of falling off with their collaborations. They weren't doing anything like top tier. They were doing more inline stuff, and people at that time didn't really care about inline stuff. They were worried about whatever the hype releases were, like whatever the new shit was going to be. Like they wanted that runner. Once that died down, like Nike kind of had that open door again, and Nike just started fucking creeping back in around 2017. 2017. I want to say Nike just bust back on the scene. That wasn't the first. Was that the first Air Max Day 2017?
Wasn't that with like the Atmos and all that?
Yeah, when they had the voting. Yeah, I think the year before 16 they had the voting section, and then 2017 they had the Air Max Day, and it was like, oh, Nike's doing some shit. Right. And then Nike just started stepping on throats from 17 on. So like if runners would have probably stayed a little bit more consistent with what they were dropping and how they were dropping, they like nobody was talking to anybody. Like the brands there was no intercommunication with brands and dropping these collaborations. You were getting like 3 collabs a weekend. And it was like, oh, okay, nobody's buying 3 collabs a weekend. Like that's not going to happen. So like they kind of oversaturated their own collab market. And then Nike was like, all right, well, we're going to retro a whole bunch of shit we know you loved in the 90s, and we're going to give you Air Max Day too. So Air Max Day was like, oh, okay, this is something new. And same thing with social media. The turnaround rate is important, whatever is new and hot. And Nike's been able to keep new and hot in the equation on everything that they've done with Travis Scott, with Off-White, with Fragment. Like I think Fragment started the entire like hype train for them when they did the Fragment 1. It was like, oh, this is like a thing. Shutting down Mercer Street, that closed the store just to do raffles. Like shit was crazy. It was like in-person fucking raffle that was the only shoe I ever won on a raffle. It was insane. Like, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it was just from Fragment 1 on, Nike was like, all right, well, I think we've got it down pat with what's going on. We need to create the hype, keep the hype, hold the hype, and then learn from the new hype. So like before shit was even popping, Nike has people like checking shit out in all different areas and speaking to artists and talking to brands and whatever the fuck they need to do, just going on tours. Like people from Europe, the European team, they tour here. Shout out Guillermo. Like people are from all over are doing research for their respective fields at Nike to keep shit relevant. They might not hit the mark all the time, but God damn it, not for a lack of trying.
When it came like the Asics, waves and stuff, like, I mean, I have a lot of Asics. Me and George bought a lot of Asics during that time, and it became like really big out here. I can only speak for Arizona. I don't know California, anywhere else like that. And it was sort of like an eye-opening thing. I was a few East Coast people from like Massachusetts who were like starting to camp out with us at releases, whatever the release might be. They were in line, like, I don't want to say putting us on game, but like, just like Mazarines and stuff. They're like explaining us to that, and like, I could get 30 pairs of those if you need them. Like they were trying to like sell us on the concept that like they could get us what I wanted, of stuff that we weren't too familiar with.
Yeah.
So then, like, when we came to like Asics and like you talked about like flamingos and stuff like that, we would see them, but we didn't understand. I don't think a lot of people understood what made them what they were. And I know a lot of that had to do with like Ronnie Fike and Kith and stuff like that. But I remember talking about it with Ryan Swanger and the homie from Off the Cut, James. We were discussing how you can have something that the sneaker head, whatever you want to call them, would complain about what one brand isn't providing, but completely disregard what a brand like a New Balance or Asics, Diadora, it can go on and on about what they're providing. Materials, quality, all of the above.
I think that the complaint about the bigger brand is more about not being able to acquire the thing that they want more than the quality of what they're getting.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but
like,
it's not easy to get some of these other things, like the Bodega release for the No Bad Days or whatever and all that. That was a mess.
So there's like fucking politics. The politics with like these drops are like also another thing. Like I'm a firm believer, and I'm not saying this is an actuality of what happened, but like when a store like Bodega or a smaller store, Soulfly, for example, gets a shoe that has a lot of hype behind it and can be sold, for some reason things just always go askew. They can drop 1 million shoes throughout the course of the year, but then that one shoe that sells for X amount of dollars somehow gets effed or gets like fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
To me, my mind, reading between the lines, because I love to do that ever so often, I just think that they do this backdoor thing where they start selling their pairs off and they make it more hectic than it needs to be. So people don't ask as many questions like, oh man, they sold out in 20 seconds. Did they though? Were there that many pairs really even up there? I mean, Packers does it from time to time. Like you'll go on the shoe at 12 o'clock at night because they drop shit at nighttime, right. 12 a.m. and there won't be a size 7. There'll be all the other sizes, but like before you even add to cart. So that means that like obviously they only got one size 7. They sold it already. Like I get it. That's how things happen. But like the idea of controlling the hype is very real. And I know I'm straying off of Asics right now, but like controlling the hype is something that brands have emulated to do since they realized hype was a thing. And I want to say Fragment 1 was like, well, probably Ronnie. Ronnie probably started that. And I'm sure in Asia definitely had all that going on long before for all the Asia exclusives that they've had. You know what I'm saying? So like there's a machine that's here. It's like music. It's like anything. There's a machine that's working in the background and it's creating and driving hype, because if they build hype on a shoe and they made 100 million of them or 100,000 of them and they put out 20,000 of them and they sold out immediately and then they dropped them 4 more times, they sold 100,000 shoes. But if they drop those shoes all 100,000 at once and they're readily available, people won't buy them.
So do you think if they, like you said, if they made that many pairs and did all that, you know, I always like, people love providing, and I think everybody's been that guy at one point where it's like, make more pairs, you know, we all want it, you know, and I always said to myself, but would you really want it if it was just that easy to get?
Question, would you? When you really,
I see. No. For me, and this is going back to our previous conversation. At my age right now, maybe yes, but in my 20s, younger than that, absolutely not. If nobody, and I hate to sound like this, it's gonna sound shallow, but I hate when sneakerheads don't admit, or people they don't admit, they feel the same way. There's a reason why you want something that's as special as it is. A Travis Scott 6 is dope. It's a little different. It's fire. But how much fire is it really more than something else? Like, we're talking a little pocket on the side, a color you might not have seen, an extra pair of laces, whatever. But how much fire is it really? We talked about that on that episode I did in Dallas. I love New Balance. Like, I love it to death. And I love Asics still. When you posted that picture in your story recently of the 2020, what is that, Joe, the July 5s, I'm looking immediately. Like, I went on eBay, there was like one pair, and it's like all the way in France or somewhere, and the shipping on that's ridiculous, and the price is ridiculous. I need those. I was so disappointed to when I sent that picture to people who I know have at some point loved Asics and Jelly 5s, and they said, Now, if I pay resell and I end up getting those for like $230, even if I pay $250, $280 for those, I know I know from my origin of one of the best feelings I had in sneakers was being able to like, yo, look what Greg got on today. Yo, Greg got that color too. I won't get that same reaction if I buy and wear those.
There's a small little molehill to understand. I, on the other end of that, know that feeling, and I also like when people go, yo, what are those? Like, and they're like, wait, that's not Travis Scott, it's not at all white, what are you wearing? And then I got to be like, oh, you don't know about these? That sucks. And I just keep it moving. Like, I won't even build it up. I kind of want the suspense to hit them, like, wait, I know you got shoes. I know you know what shoes are. Like, what are those, though? And if they don't know, they now have to go either figure out what they are. So I know they were ASIC. I know they were red. Now I got to go look at ASICs and type in ASICs red and figure out what it is. That's a Gel Light 3 model he has with the split tongue. All right, so now I know what ASICs Gel Light 3. And now you're trying to figure out what ASIC Gel Light 3 red that was. So was it a Nice Kicks? Was it a Super Red? Was it a Koi? Was it a you got to figure out what it is I was wearing, just because it wasn't just the shoe, it was the fit. So like, oh, what shirt is that? Oh, that's Chrome Hearts. Where'd you get that Chrome Hearts from? How old is that? Oh, what kind of pants are those? Those are Mahari. Like the whole fit just comes together, and then the thing that ties it in is the sneaker. Like, I started the feet and I worked my way up. That's how we figure this shit out every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what's going down right now. I'm coming out of the shower. I'm grabbing a pair of shoes. I'm going to go in my closet and be like, all right, what goes with this today?
I will tell you this, like you said, when it comes to the fit does, with some of the stuff I see you wear and some of the stuff I see you post, like the A6, what was the Gel 360s?
Yeah.
I would never in a million years would have considered those. Not even close, because I wouldn't be able to look at those and say, like me, I love dressing, I love clothes, I love putting together fits, like you say. I don't post that stuff online because I just don't know how, but I'm going to once this is over. I would never, ever would have looked at those and said, yo, I could put something dope together with these. You made me look at those, which is what I want to tell everybody. That's what an influencer is. An influencer isn't somebody who can show you what they have. An influencer is somebody who can show you what you could do with it. That's an influencer.
That's the important part.
So people that look towards everybody and like, yo, he has Travis Scott ones. That doesn't. Now, what's he gonna do with it? Because if anybody, that's why I always tell people. There's a lot of people in society still to this day, people that I know personally, who think if you go in Gucci and spend a ton of money, you know how to dress. No, it doesn't.
Get out of here.
Just because your polo shirt, my polo shirt might have cost $89 and yours cost $350, doesn't mean you dress better than me. Doesn't mean that whatsoever. Those 360s that you had, which, did you make a top 10 list?
What do you mean? Of this year so far?
Yeah. Okay, so just to let everybody know, me and Mike are going to do our top 10 non-Nike, Adidas, whatever, sneakers from this year so far. And on my list, I do have one, that 360, that olive with the pink, that, I don't know what that's called. You have posted it. It's the ASIC Gel 360. It's like olive green, and the bubbles on the bottom or whatever are pink.
Olive 360 with the... I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Those are absolute fire. But they're fire because you made them fire, to me.
I mean, I think a lot of people sleep on the fact that you don't have to wear what everybody else is wearing to achieve the look that you want to achieve. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I live in New York, so there's just people with alarms going off for no reason.
It's all good.
Fucking horns crazy. Yeah, but like, I don't know. I mean, I hate, ever since I was younger though, like I talked about it before, like I worked at a sneaker store, I would wear shoes until they came out. And then when I saw mad people wearing them, I don't want to wear them anymore. Like I've always been like that. It wasn't like something that I just figured out recently where I was like, well, I don't want to wear what everybody else is wearing. No, that's just how I was raised. Like if your cousins are wearing this, I'm wearing something different. You know, like even my mom put that in my head. I was like, okay.
So I feel like even with, retail stores and stores like that, on how stores are set up and what they do, they're all built for that. Now I think brands, and you might be able to speak to this more than I do. I don't know how. So let's just stick with Kith or any other store, whatever. What they decide, and typically in Kith, actually, you know what? Kith might not be because typically on Kith mannequins and stuff like that, that's one of my favorite parts about being a Kith is seeing the mannequins, like seeing the clothes on the mannequins. Like, I don't know why. Something
you
about.
You can imagine what the fit's going to look like. That's why.
Right. And now the footwear that might be on it, it might be typically a Kith or a Phi collaboration that might be on foot. But sometimes you'll see like a Cortez or some Nikes or whatever on the mannequin. What goes behind that thought process? I don't know if you have any insight on that, but like, why wouldn't they put an ASIC Gel Light 360 on that mannequin versus a whatever?
Well, I think it goes a lot with what the stylist is, because there's obviously like someone who styles the mannequins in that store. Like certain stores have different stylists and they have different tastes. Plus, they also have like there's like a list basically of like what has to be displayed or what needs to be put out. So like if they go, okay, listen, we have this new Ame coming in, we have this new Maharishi coming in, we have this new Adder coming in, and we have 7 pairs of shoes that we need displayed. Like they'll go, okay, this is whatever all the clothes look like, and these are what the shoes look like. It might be an ASIC, it might be, but the ASIC might be a collab of some sort, or the Nike's probably like an Air Force One or a luxury or something that Nike needs pushed. So like, there's a lot of politics to that. You know what I'm saying? So like Nike goes, we want to push these luxury Air Force Ones. We'll give you a prime example. So luxury, we're trying to bring back Air Force One this year. So obviously you see Supreme got an Air Force One. Travis had an Air Force One last year. Like they're pushing Air Force Ones for this revival kind of thing. Cool. So they tell all the brands that own Nike, this is what we're pushing for. Now, when you do your in-store or installs or anything like that, they want you to create your own content in using their materials. So the Air Force One Luxe will be with the Adder outfit, and like that'll be a small queue. So if a Nike rep, like I told you before, happens to venture into Kith, now you know Nike is in New York, so there's plenty of people that work for Nike that walk into Kith on a daily basis, and they take a picture and they send it to one of their higher ups. There's a Nike sitting on a mannequin in Kith. Like that's the reason behind a lot of that. There's a lot of politics to it. And the other thing is like sometimes it's just a good fucking look. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like it's just there's the give and the take from that. So like I know the people that touch the mannequins, and like they usually go for a little bit different of a style. They're not going to give you a plain white T-shirt, a pair of denim, and a pair of Air Force Ones. They're going to give you a Junior Wanatabe fucking vest with whatever, some other brand soupy T-shirt, and then some kind of denim that's from Ralph Lauren's nephew, Greg Lauren, that's $700, and then a pair of shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Right. That's they're going to dress their mannequin because they want it to look different. They want it to look extravagant. Plus, there's a larger price point on all of those items.
Do you consider people's collections like I've started to like? I'll ask you this first: have you been watching any of these like sneaker battles?
No.
Okay, I haven't either.
Not purposely though, because like people I know are doing them, and I either miss them or I'm doing something else.
I think I've purposely done it, and now in this with my mindset with, I expect like I just do like he pulls out a Travis Scott one. What do you got to defend that? I got an Off-White Air Force One. Ooh, like that's what I expect. Somebody asked me to do a sneaker battle thing, and I said I would, if I did a sneaker battle, I would win and lose at the exact same time, because I would pull out something that means so much more than this Travis Scott dunk, and that has never been retroed and some people have never seen before, but it's not a Travis Scott dunk, so I'd lose. Yes,
but also it's a sneaker battle. Like I've seen every sneaker you're possibly going to pull out right now. So like it's going to surprise me. 1, 2, it's a sneaker battle. If I've seen one, I've seen every single sneaker battle. So like for me, like it's kind of pointless. Now, if you were to do a customized sneaker battle where it's only custom sneakers, I'd be like, oh, well, that's something I would watch.
That would be interesting.
Anybody who does one, you're welcome for the idea, because I know a million fucking customizers, and not one has done a customized sneaker battle where it's only customs and you put your custom against somebody else's custom. But anyway, that would be something
I want to put that together.
Yeah, but realistically, like,
That's a really good idea.
and nobody's doing it. I'm mad confused. I'm like, how do you not do a custom battle during this time to, one, promote your customs, and two, have a fucking sneaker battle that nobody's seen?
Holy cow! I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm already interested in that. Like, I'm already interested because
interesting. Every single live I've seen pop up with a sneaker battle. That way you don't have to worry about like what it means. Well, it's going to mean something to you, but at least it's going up against something that's in its wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? Whether you change material, whether you painted it, whether it means something, whether you did it for your mom, whether you did it for your cousin, whether you did it for a sports team, like what's the detail look like? What kind of model is it? Like how much better did you make the model because you did your own custom work to it? Like there are a million different degrees and levels to grade a custom over a shoe that everybody's seen. Plus, not everybody's seen it.
I'm already interested in that. Like, I'm not even joking. I would 100% watch that because I don't watch the others because I don't want to see a bunch of people on a IG live like, ooh, he pulled out the DB3s. And then he's like, oh, I got something for that. And he pulls out the Rust Pink 1s. Ooh, who do you vote for? Like, I don't. That custom battle is really smart.
I mean, it's a good way to promote your own business. Listen, they just did that Foot Locker sneaker battle thing, and I mean, listen, you got resellers against people, and like some of the shoes that they pulled out, I'm like, damn, that's a fire shoe, and like I voted for the fire shoe not because of the person, but because of the shoe, and that person had 3%. I'm like, so you're gonna vote for a shoe that you've seen 300,000 times on 6 different people in your own sneaker circle on 3,000 Instagram accounts. Yes, you know what the shoe looks like. You've never even seen that other shoe. You don't even know what that shoe is. Even if it's a GR from 1996, who cares? It's still better than the Travis Scott one that you've seen for the past 2 years. Like. And that's the other reason why I don't watch sneaker battles, because I feel like they're all flawed. Like it's like, oh, all right, cool.
No, it's very flawed. Yeah, no, you're right. Because even like, even like other people have started like doing their own versions of it, and like they'll, like a what is it called? Like a YouTube thumbnail, whatever that is, and they'll black out the sneaker, and it's just like a silhouette of it. I'm like, I can tell what that is. Like,
Jordan 1, it's a Travis or a segment. Like,
I already know where this is going. Like, but I would tell you this, and you probably don't have the time or want to. And if anybody who does do this, if Mike is cool with you taking that, feel free. But a sneaker customizer battle, that's where it's at.
And I know people even if you got like a bespoke, that's a custom sneaker. Most people haven't seen. Cool. You can put that up. But no shoes that the general public, you got an NB1 that you made. Throw that up. Like, that's a custom sneaker. Like, anything that's not an inline release that is readily available for people to buy. Friends and family don't count because that's not a custom sneaker. That's a friends and family shoe that you got manufactured from someone else. Fine. But like your own customized shoe, fuck it. Enjoy.
That's perfect. Yeah, I did. I had saw a clip somebody had posted of like a sneaker battle, and somebody had pulled out like, I don't know what it was, but then someone pulled out like a Ray Allen sample, and it's like, even though we don't see that often, we've all seen it, and everyone lost their minds. Like, oh my God, I'm like, you guys have seen this? Like, I mean, come on. Like,
You can't be impressed by the things that you know are already out there too. Like I get it. Like DB4, it's like DB4 is probably one of my favorite shoes that I don't own. But at the same time, if somebody pulls it out in the sneaker battle, I'm not going to vote for it over something that is possibly better, depending on what the shoe up against it is. Like I'm not that type of person though. Like I don't do that in real life. If I don't like you, and by you're not someone I like, and you're debating someone I do like, and I agree with your point, I'm going to say I agree with your point, even though I don't like you. Like that's just how I am. You know what I'm saying? Like. I don't agree just to agree. Like it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I think that goes back to like, we talked about like community, liking people and not liking people. That's like something that I think when I first, if it wasn't for the podcast, I would never be on Instagram. I would have never done it. And, get caught up in that stuff like really quick. And I've separated myself from a lot. Like there's a lot of people that get mad that like, I don't participate in stuff like that. Like, I don't like, people like, yo, did you see what so-and-so said? I'm like, who the heck is that? Like when John told me to go watch that, he said, like, I don't remember the name, but he was like, yo, did you go see this thing? And I said, who the heck is that? Man, come on, man, you ain't that cool. You don't know who that is. Fam, I don't want to like be involved in that. Like, I don't know what this stuff is. Like, no, I see the ads for it and I probably have come across these people pages, but like I generally don't bother with it because I see how quickly they turn on each other. Everybody turns on each other off internet strangers. I don't care how much you DM each other or if you've shared your cell phone number and now you text and you've grabbed a few sneakers for me, you're still strangers. Like,
yeah.
And people, like, it takes one person to say something behind someone's back or disagree with someone, and now it's a thing. And I'm like, I can't do it.
Listen, I'm very particular about what I say to who I say it to, especially like in situations like that. Because you listen, for anybody listening, if you chill with somebody and they talk shit about someone else that you chill with, they're doing the same thing to you. I'll just leave it at that.
100% fact.
I'll just leave it at that. So, like, don't be careful who you talk to about what and about who. Like, keep that shit close to the hip. And if you have to tell someone, don't repeat this, don't even tell them the thing.
I agree. Going back to what you said earlier about people not making maybe possibly enough noise about what happens for releases and stuff like that, do you think that we expect way too much from brands?
I think that we hold them to a higher regard. Perfect example, like if I know that you have it in you to be, design something better or draw something better or say something better, like I'm going to tell you, like, yo, you could definitely, like, that was good, but there's other ways that you can do this. That's just me. Like, I just want to see you be the best that you can be. I have that respect for brands too. Like, I want what I would expect from you for this dollar amount. And, you've been in shoes long enough to know a lot of background of like pricing and, how things happen and what goes into what. And it's, you start to feel it even more. I think I more so now want more out of brands knowing what I know than I did before. So when people are like, oh yeah, how they charging us $250? Well, like, you don't even know what the material going into it is. Like New Balance, I could understand a little bit more, but Nike, when they're charging $220 for, a fly knit shoe, that's wild to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an $18 shoe. Where did $220 come from? Like, those are the kind of things that make me feel like I demand a certain level from them. I don't think it's too much. I think it's enough.
Do you feel creativity is lacking in sneakers?
On what level?
Well, I get a lot of flack because, I think rust pinks are overrated. I like the shoe. I think it's fire. But, the influx of Jordan 1s and stuff like that, I feel like, and I don't know if it's even hype when it comes to a Jordan 1. Like, the tweak of a color move to a different section of the shoe, people will lose their mind. And like Fragment 1s, I think Fragment 1s are overrated. I'm sure the materials are nice and the sneaker is fire, but should it be held at such the regard as it is for the lightning on the back and maybe like moving the blue here and am I making sense?
I mean, considering I have both of those shoes, a little rude. That's fine.
See, they're fire. But
in retrospect to what you're saying, I got my fragments at retail. That's one. That's the most important thing. And the rust pinks I got in a trade for a pair of off-white ones with e-glues. So realistically, like, it's not something I had to kill myself to do to get. But for those price points, if I were paying for them straight up now, I probably wouldn't do it. I don't think that any shoe is that covetable in that range. Now, Yeezy 2, different story. We'll get into that. But, like, as far as a Jordan 1 goes, there's only so much you can do. There's only, we got 7 panels. Like, what are you going to do on that shoe? Like, there's nothing crazy except for J Balvin. I think that shoe is trash, but they're going to make that something super amazing. I don't know why.
Trash is an understatement.
Yeah, I think that is a travesty, is what they should call it, to like the fucking Jordan 1.
It really is.
It is what it is.
But that's like, why I consider. That's why I consider. That's why, like, I could see why a Union and an Off-White one are up there.
Coveted.
Like there was stuff done to it, you know.
Yeah, like those two shoes, understandable, 100%. Like I'm with that. The color change is respectable. The material change on the off-white, 100% respectable. But like when you're talking about just painting a different panel and adding, you know, a debossed lightning bolt, I don't think people should go wild.
And I only ask you that because, like I said, you know, you do put forth a lot more effort than I do other people see when it comes to like your pictures and clothes and stuff like that. And I view you as very mindful of what you buy. You know, like I said, Fragments and Rust ones, I think they're fire. I just don't know. I feel like I'm concerned with when are we gonna get out of the, like, I don't want to say we're settling, but I feel like we're settling. Like the blue one that just came out last week, it's fire, I guess.
The fact that 100%. So like I do the content for the Instagram shop, so like I get all those shoes at the house. So like the 4s that dropped in the white with the purple, material on them are fire. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it made me contemplate possibly copying a pair, not because I love 4s. I hate 4s. They're uncomfortable as shit. But the white with the purple, I could find a fit for that. That's for damn sure. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Certain levels or certain degrees in certain shoes, like they, even if a shoe comes out that I don't particularly like, see it in hand and go, wow, this is a lot better than I thought it'd be, and it makes me contemplate copying, you've done your job. It's rare that happens. Very rare. And that's because there's too many people out there that don't care. They see a price tag and they see somebody wearing it and they go, okay, I want those. And that's how they sell out. You don't listen. Put it like this: you go on a date with a girl, right? And you meet up. You go, "Hey, how's it going?" She goes, "All right, let's go back to my place." So you were going to buy dinner. You were gonna go to a movie. You were going to do all these extra things, and she said, "You don't have to." That's basically what the customer's saying. You don't have to do all those things because we're going to buy the product anyway. So just take our money.
I feel like a lot of us have become really irresponsible with our money when it comes to sneakers. And I say that based off of like what I do see on social media. I feel like the persona that a lot of sneakerheads, what they're going to call it, have built has made them in their communities, amongst their friends, whomever, as the person with sneakers, and now they're willing to buy anything. And I feel like that makes it bad. Like, I have, if you're not to me willing to say, like, I see people that post and in their caption will say, I don't know how I feel about these, and they're wearing them and everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, huh? Like I don't know how I feel about these, to me means I'm not buying them.
Yes.
I've seen people with them on their feet with the camera posting it. Not sure how I feel about them. I mean, I like this color, but you know, you're done. Like that was irresponsible.
Did you get them? If you got them for free, then fine. I don't care what you think.
That's different.
It. But if you paid for them and you put that up, that's says a lot about your.
Yeah, it like delegitimate. I don't know if that's a word. Lemizes your collection. Like, you can't do that. Like it makes me question you as a person of quote unquote the community.
I can feel you on. Listen, there's a lot of people that are in the quote unquote community that okay, so I'll just keep it blunt. Fuck it. That I have no respect for whatsoever. Like they are solid figures, and I'm just, you know, I'm not going to attack you. I don't really care at the end of the day because you do what you do, and it is what it is. If you have an audience for it, fuck it. Who the fuck am I to judge you? Who cares? But like, right. I'm also a person who questions things. So like when I see someone who doesn't know how to dress or doesn't, in my perspective, doesn't know how to dress. I mean, my perspective is pretty base level. You know, if you're wearing orange pants with a, you know, tie-dye fucking top and sandals, like I don't think you know how to dress, but like cool. If those tie-dye pants, if the orange pants are Greg Lauren and the tie-dye top is fucking chrome hearts and the sandals you're wearing are Adder Edder, then fuck it. Then I guess that's what makes a great fit. You know what I'm saying? Like right. wearing those things, like you said before with the Gucci outfit, like that doesn't make you that to me, that doesn't mean that you know how to dress. But then if you look right below in that left-hand corner where it says 3,000 likes, I guess it does.
Yeah.
I'm curious who the fuck is liking these posts. And then I have to think to myself, are they in an engagement group? Because there's plenty of those out there where people are like, oh, yeah, there's 60 of us in here. You know, like and comment on every single person's post when they put it up. So that way the engagement fucking tracks at the top and it gets its most exposure. Now I'm like, one, I'm not doing all that fucking work. I'm not following 60 fucking people just so I can repost their picture or tag or like or comment because that's just not me. And two, like how many of these people that are in here whose names I see are in other groups that do the same thing? So now like you're building up those numbers just to there's so much background to all this shit that like I know about and I just fucking hate, which is why I put the quotation marks around community because it's just become so tainted.
Yeah, because there are, and like you said, I can see somebody post one Travis Scott or whatever, post one and they get, 45 likes, whatever. I see somebody else post it, it's like 20,000, and I'm like, I don't understand this. Like, I don't, like, and you said, like, the free love. I am very judicial with my likes.
Are you?
I am. And I used to didn't be. I used to just like, just keep going down. But I didn't like that. I didn't really feel, I really didn't like it. Like, I just did it, but I didn't really like it. Like, I have no problem looking at something like I'll scroll through social media and I'll be like, that sucks. I'll keep scrolling. Like, and then I'll see another one and be like, that's better. Like, I love liking pictures of stuff that I don't see often. I can't tap every Off-White Vapor Max I see that day. I can't do it. Like, it goes against, to me, what I feel like I genuinely believe. Now, is it thinking way too hard about it? Most likely. Like, it's probably thinking way too hard about it. And it probably is, honestly, it's probably stupid.
Listen to me. There's nothing wrong with that. And like, as much as I've probably said it 300 times while we've been doing this fucking podcast, but like, do what you want, man. Do what makes you happy. Like, if that's what makes you happy and that's your thought process, then fucking do it. Who gives a shit? Like, me personally, if I'm scrolling, the only thing that I don't like is like the girl pages on my shit and like they're being like super sexual and exposing themselves, except for Lakeisha Beast, which is the photographer. He's like the only one I'll like over sexualized photos. Otherwise I skip over that type of stuff only because like I'm not trying to condone that. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise everything else is free game for me.
That's a good point. I will say this, like I never like a lot of those. One, because I don't want to like how judicial I am with my likes. I would hate that I passed another woman sneakerhead photo because it was just whatever. But then the girl in the Supreme underwear and bra, I liked it. Like you said, condone. I don't want you to think like, oh, you didn't like my picture of my sneaker, but her almost butt naked in the same sneaker, you clicked it.
It's not even a shoe at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a whole different degree of. I just think like you don't need to degrade yourself to, get the likes on Instagram, even though the community says otherwise on Instagram. The more sexual your post is, the more likes you get. Like, that's cool for everyone else, but like, you don't have to be like everybody else. You can be your own fucking person and still be valuable.
Have you done any work with brands?
Yes.
Could you say some or no?
I mean, like, it depends on like consulting. I do more consulting on the back end, so that's really
what does like consulting like look like?
It really does depend on what they're asking for. Very low level for me at this point. I haven't really reached out to the point where I'm like, listen, this is what I do full time, because I'm not ready to do it full time because I'm still kind of where I'm at. But what I can say is this. So basically what you do is you're going to come in and they want your perspective is really what you're getting paid for. Your perspective and your knowledge of whatever the respective field is.
So depending on what you value yourself at and what they're willing to value you for, sadly, it does go a lot off of like your social engagement and things of that nature, and kind of like your resume in that field. So like if you've been in shoes and you've been doing stuff, like you have your podcast for a long time, like your statistics hold weight. You know what I'm saying? You know that because obviously you got the go thing. But like,
I hate that.
I that is my least favorite part about it. But like, luckily, I have enough people like on the back end where if I'm like, listen, they might hit you up and ask you some questions. Like I have credible sources that are like, no, don't worry about those numbers. Like you're getting what you need to get. You know what I'm saying? Like, and also like I'm pretty honest about it too. Like, listen, I'm not going to give you, or I'm not going to tell you what I think you should be doing to compare to somebody else who's doing all the fuck shit, as I like to say, like all of that stupid Instagram stuff where it's like, hey guys, this is my girl and we're going to put up a sexy photo and it's going to be like, we're going to put a shoe in it. Like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm trying to bring to the table for you. Like what I want to do is bring back the original feel of sneakers to a sneaker store. So if I'm consulting for a shop, like it's one thing, like I'm here. And what I would want to feel as a consumer and a customer is what I'm going to relay to you and your employees about what needs to be relayed in your own shop. And if it's on the back end of like a brand, the brand, I'm going to tell you like, listen, you guys are, you're fucking up. Like you're basically giving people what you think that they want based on Instagram, when a lot of time people don't know what they want until you give it to them. So like you kind of got to take a back seat for a little bit and then rebuild what you want to do and create something new and then sell it the way that they sell everything else.
Do you feel like they listen?
No.
Okay.
It also depends how much you charge them. I found that to be like pretty reasonable too. Like I'm not here to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? Like truthfully, like I'm doing it because I want to do it. So like I won't like bang people over the head, but the people I do bang over the head listen to me way more. I will say that.
I think like everybody who creates any type of content, and this is the problem with people who create content, when they go into the mindset of creating the content of being able to gain something from it other than why they actually started it. Okay. So when we started it was just because like, well, we talk all day about sneakers, we do it. And then a lot of people, and I've talked to people and I don't want to call anybody out, and I mean, I don't want to say I hate them. I'm going to say this because I know a lot of them are going to know I'm talking about them, but they'll ask like, they'll say, yo, I started this because hopefully Nike hits me up and whatever. And I was like, no. And I hate to be like that. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Could it? Maybe. I don't think Nike's going to say, yo, we're looking for a podcast.
Listen to me very carefully. The problem with those people that do it because they want or hope for Nike to listen. The eventuality is it's cool if a brand hits you. Like for me to say like I don't want any brands to hit me up to contact me would be bullshit. But at the same time, like started for that. So like it's completely different. Like if I see that there's something going on in the situation or in the system that I don't like and you guys want to ask my opinion about it, that's cool. I'm with that. But for those people who start it because they want to gain something from it, those are the people who have tainted the community because they go to the leaps and bounds and they start these engagement groups. Why do you have an engagement group? Think about it. Well, why are you an engagement group? Because you want more people to see your photos. It's not because you care about the photo that you're putting up. Maybe. I don't see photographers in engagement groups. You know what I'm saying? Right. I don't see designers in engagement groups, but I highly doubt that. But like at the end of the day, sneakers is the only thing that has hit me up for engagement. And those porn sites, but like everybody gets those. So like at the end of the day, like you get in your DM and you look and you're like, all right, well, I don't know who this Russian lady is, but I know that this is another sneaker group that like just posted a photo and needs people to engage their content. Why?
Yeah, well, every time I get those like, hey, we have this group, and it's like, what you do is you follow all these people, then you do all this and do all that, and I'm like, delete. Nah,
man. But like you have to think the core base of like what we're talking about right now is those people that are conforming to give those brands what they want. You're ultimately hurting that brand by not telling them the truth. That's the problem. People don't want to be honest because they think in return they're going to get shunned. Oh, they're never going to pick. When people write things like, oh, Nike really fucked up on this raffle, guess I'm never winning another shoe again. Like, you think Nike's looking for your email or your Instagram handle to ban you from winning a shoe? No, they don't give a fuck. But
in that same regard, when you go on there thinking that telling them, hey, this is the greatest shoe I've ever seen, and they took 30 minutes to put it together, what are you telling? You're sending them the wrong signals. Like, that's not how we build better shoes. That's not how we build a better company. That's not how we get what we want from a brand. Like,
and see, that's where I always want to make sure that with our content that we create, we stay firm in that, because I will never. I have no problem. Actually, nobody. We have no problem discussing how we actually feel about something, and I look at it as like I said, not a negative thing, but it's like, man, why did you do this? Like, why did you put this material on this? Why did you do, whatever? And I look at it in the aspect of like, this could be better, just like you said. But I do feel like that's a very good point that you made, that it taints the community when people are looking to be in it to gain something from it. Like, there are a lot of people who are very excited and very happy to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Stan socks in the hopes that hopefully Stan socks will send me some free Stan socks. And I'm like, well, they really don't need you to send you Stan socks, because you already buy them. You buy them nonstop. It's no need.
I'm going to put it to you like this. So, like, I was in a focus group not too long ago. It's a Nike focus group, whatever.
Okay.
And it turns out it wasn't just a focus group. It was like a couple of, like, whatever, important people that do shit. So we were going in a room. They were talking about collaborations, and they were about to say something about the Supreme collaboration. And the guy turned to me and goes, well, I know you don't like them already. And obviously it's because he watches the content that I put out. Now, like, suppose, like, I know him. I know the person. I didn't know he watched the show like that, whatever. And I was like, listen, man, at the end of the day, like, I broke it down why, because, like, on the show, like, I didn't get into, like, deep detail. I was like, listen, it's just something we didn't need. So he was like, I'm just curious why, we didn't need to do that. And, like, I spilled the beans. I was like, listen, man, it's an all-white Air Force One, and, like, the hype that it creates, you could have did that with any other store and maybe given them a little bit more shine, or brought attention to a smaller store that needs it as opposed to Supreme. You know what I'm saying? But, like, it was a different kind of grab. And people gravitate towards it as something that was necessary. Now, if they would have did that with a smaller store and a smaller number and brought attention to a shop that, is a mom and pop or something that's up and coming, I think that would have been better for the community and the culture than stamping it on somebody who's already done it. Now, I get that Supreme has Air Force Ones in the past. They could have did something wild and extravagant. They could have put throw up on a shoe and people would have bought it because it was Supreme, and then kept that basic stuff for a smaller store because it's still simple and clean. Like, there's levels to how you can engage, but that's just me and how I think about it. But to that point, like, I'm honest about how I feel, and, like, as small as my platform is, like, I know they're listening. So, like, I guess that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Like, I definitely, like, somebody from Nike and, other brands have reached out and said, like, they do listen to our show and they're happy with it, listen to it. I mean, that was kind of like the thing with GOAT. Like, GOAT told me that, look, like, everyone is listening to everyone. And they were like, we're not just talking about you guys. There are people in these companies that specific job is to listen to this stuff. And I said, well, that's kind of a good thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing. I said, I like to know that, but with the content and the information and our opinions and stuff that we put out there, it's almost like, what do I actually need you for? Every single week, you're going to tell me what you think and what we should have did. I get all my focus group material from just listening to your show every week.
Which is why I keep it kind of simple. Not because I want them to ask more questions, but because I, as you could tell from the sneaker battle comment about doing a customized one, like, I think about this stuff too much as it is. And I'm always just jotting down ideas for things that I can do or people can do. I don't tell people, like, I know a couple of customizers that should be doing this already, but, like, I give them free advice from time to time and they don't listen. So I think it's more responsible for me not to poison my own state of mind by continually giving people advice that they don't listen to and it pissing me off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
that's
like,
what makes me mad.
I don't like to give you solid sound information from, I mean, listen, I'm not the fucking final voice on sneakers, but, like, I know a little bit about a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if I'm telling you, like, this isn't going to work for you and this is what you should be doing, even if you don't want to do it, test it.
What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work, and you test something else. At least you know that don't work. But if you're going to make me waste my time talking to you and telling you what you can do and showing you things you can do and giving you projections and you do none of it, fuck it. I'm good.
And that's why that's even with like creating content. Like when people have like come to me and ask me about like how to start a podcast, things like that, whatever, I give them the layout of the programs I use, everything that I use to make sure that it sounds just as good as possible. I tell them, explore the option of studios in your neighborhood, whatever the case may be, to do things, and then they don't do it. It drives me absolutely nuts. There was these guys, and I don't know if they're going to do it or not. There's these guys that were out in the UK and they wanted to start a podcast. They wanted to start a podcast to focus on New Balances, Diodoras, Asics, the trainers, and the European sneaker culture, which is something that is a little bit lacking. There are areas that are excelling. There's a show called The Panel. They're like out of Europe, and really good guys. I love their show. It's good content, and it's something a little different. I have been like working with these other two guys on their podcast. I'm talking for almost a year now. Hey man, what are you gonna do? Oh, you know what? Yeah, well, we'll get to. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we thought about that. I said, yo, it's only $35 for this program. You pay $35 one time. You just bought this sneaker for $230. You can stop this week.
They don't really want to do it.
They don't really want to do it, and they haven't.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. If there's one thing that, like, the first thing I tell people when they're like, well, I'm worried about this and I'm worried about that, I'm like, don't worry about it. Just put something down on paper. Put something down on video. Get a video done. Just do one. Do one. Even if it's 10 minutes, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 3 hours, it doesn't matter. Do one.
And this is why I like talking to you, because I can tell that you appreciate the amount of work and the content that you put out. Like we haven't done our 200th episode yet, but we're at 199, and it's not about like, man, recording and talking for almost 200 episodes. It makes me feel so good inside, because you got the friends, how we are. We get together, we need to do something. We need to start something. We need to make money. We need to start a business. And none of us actually ever do it. But sitting down and saying, I want to start a podcast. I could have easily been like, yeah, I want to start a podcast. And that was it. Nothing. But I actually did it. Like, it feels good to do something from scratch and like continue with it. And people don't find the value in that.
It's difficult. It's difficult for people to even understand. I find that a lot of people that don't have the will to do what they want to do always have something to say about what you're doing. So always. It is what I've gotten over that hump and that hill. It is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what I do in my life, but when I decided to start taking fucking pictures, I was like, I want to take pictures. I went and bought a bullshit camera. I took some pictures. I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to shoot for real. So I went, took a class, and then I just took it from there. And I just kept doing it. And it's just something that's the type of person I am. When I want to learn to do something, I go and do it. Like, and so when people ask me, like, how do I do this or how do I do that? I say, listen, just go. Just go do it. Figure it out on your fucking way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time you do it. Once you get that idea that it doesn't have to be perfect the first time, you're winning already.
100%. And like, I even get that when I go back and listen to like our first episodes, I'm like, oh my God, this was awful. But you grow and you learn, and everything, like you said, like the editing, all that stuff. I never knew how to do any of that. I literally learned how to do it. I just took time out of my day, and that's why I tell people, just take time out of your day to mess around with it. Like, this is yours. Like, I didn't take a class. I watched some YouTube videos, but then I opened up the program and I just started clicking stuff. I recorded my voice, and then I started clicking stuff. Oh, shoot, that's how you cut that. Oh, that's how you silence that. Oh, that's how you make the voice sound different. Oh, that's how you raise the volume. It's easy to do it, but like you said, you just got to do one, and you got to keep going. You got to feel something with it,
It's kind of crazy. I got a question for you. During quarantine, have you cut any people off?
What's funny? During quarantine, I've actually made more friends.
I've learned that like quarantine has made me kind of capture and embody the people who are actually trying to push and strive from the people who aren't.
I will tell you this, like, when it comes to like DMs and people that like live in other states that listen to the show and stuff like that, it was really difficult and hard for me to like respond to people or get back to people or engage in just general conversations, because the daily routine is so hard. And I don't got to tell you this, you're in New York. I mean, God, get from A to B in New York feels like eternity. Okay, but like my mindset of like my process of like waking up so early to get to my actual 9 to 5, then dealing with everybody at my 9 to 5, and then coming home and dealing with my kids and wife and everybody. I don't have the time to like chit chat. What do you think about the new Ben and Jerry dunk? I just didn't have the time for it. Now that I've cut out that difficult routine of everything, man, like I'm finding myself in like 15-20 minute conversations through DM or text, like, yo, it was crazy this happened, or what you think about this sneaker, or did you watch that show, what you think about the documentary. I'm having these conversations. My concern is once things go back to normal, I won't have these conversations with anybody anymore.
Well, so like I find time management is like crucial. So like for me, obviously you're driving to and from, so like you can't do shit for that to and from on your phone. But like any other time in between, like my travel time, because I take like public transport, well, I won't be taking it after this shit. Public transportation, like I would be basically on my phone and going through my DMs. If I needed to post a picture, if I needed to edit something real quick, if I needed to have a conversation with people, if I wanted to check the DM, that would be all my travel time. So that way, like when I'm out and I'm around other people in a public setting where I need to like engage, I'm not looking at my phone.
Right.
That's the more important thing. Cause like, I mean, realistically, like social media could take over your life. You see all these like movies and videos and fucking TVs, like whatever you watch, like people who are on their phones, they make a joke out of it. Like 5 people are sitting at the table and they're all looking at their phones. Like that's not how I want to live. You know what I'm saying? Like if, you know, you're out and like everybody's on their phone, I guess I'll be on my phone. But like I usually make a joke like, oh, I guess I'm going on my phone, you know, just well, no, like this isn't what I want to do, but I guess if we're all doing it, I'll do it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got to the point to where I started leaving my phone in the car.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that was the thing. And now, but that's where like that anxiety comes from, like when you, because like when you create content, you deal with so many different personalities, and you still deal with the understanding of like missing out on something. So I used to get, like, I feel. Okay, and put it this way. There are some people that will like DM like questions or stuff or conversations, and I would never get back to them. And then they'll DM me one day and be like, yo, you never write back. Like, yo, that's kind of messed up. Like you know, and I'm like, oh man, you know, I'm sorry I'm doing with this. Or man, sometimes people will like send an email. I mean, the longest messages ever. This one guy's in the military and he like catches a podcast when he's like on a ship or something, and I get it. He probably doesn't engage in much conversation with anybody else about sneakers and stuff, so he has to spill his guts in emails to me, and I love it, but I don't have time to get to it sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
No, it is, and I, you know, it's that process. But like you said, like I hate being that. It's like, hey, it's my birthday tonight. Let's go out for my birthday. Cool. And we're in this loud place with lasers and lights and smoke, and we're all sitting in this table that we paid like $2,000 for, and we're all looking at our phone,
texting each other.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is like some people. I'll be with some people that are texting about somebody else at the party. Like, yo, you see what she said? I'm like, yo, she's right there.
Yeah, I'm also not good at that either, because I'll be the first motherfucker. If you tell me something about somebody and we're all in the same room, I'll be like, yo, he just said that you thought that this was a horrible idea. What are your thoughts? I don't give a fuck. I grew up. I'm an adult now. Like I'm not in the middle of anybody's beef. I'm not getting in the middle of your tit-and-tatting, and don't use me as a way to try and leverage a conversation as somebody else, because I will air your shit the fuck out. I don't care.
Oh, I ain't telling you no secrets.
I'm a secret teller, but like if you tell me something about you, that's about you. Like if you tell me something about someone else, first, I'll never tell you shit. Two, it's not for me to tell. You know what I'm saying? When people tell me things, unless you go, yo, go ahead, tell them or say something to them, I'm not saying anything. Like, so if you expect it to be a telephone game with me, it's like hitting a dead ball. You hit that motherfucker, it drops to the floor, that's where it ends. Right there, boom. It ain't going nowhere else.
Right on. I don't have anything else to talk about. I don't know if you realize it. We're almost at 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, the timer's right there. Oh, shit. Okay.
I don't know how much time left you have, but did you want to do our top 10?
Honestly, the top 10 I just did was like the top 10 for me this year. I didn't do like non-Nike, because honestly, like Nike's been killing it.
Okay.
I hate doing it. I just threw a whole bunch of shoes on there even stuff I didn't cop that. Like I was like, kind of fire.
Oh, okay, cool then. I mean, I had built one without Nike and all that, but I could do mine. I could do.
I'm curious. Like, what could you possibly have on there?
What?
I'm just curious.
All right. But no, like, so I did build a list with non-Nike and Adidas on it because I will tell you this, like, and I really love, and I don't know how you feel about them. I love the New Balance 327s.
Really?
You don't?
I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying, really, I didn't see that coming. I was surprised. I was very surprised to hear you say that. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I picked up a pair from Sneakers and stuff, and I tried for other ones. I tried for the Casablancas and stuff like that, but I just can't get my hands on those.
That it looks like maybe I just have to see them in hand. I really, because somebody asked me, and I was like, you know what, the multicolor is kind of cool. The woman's joint was fire, but like something about the shoe is just weird to me.
It's a little weird. It's definitely better when you put it on foot.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It depends on the pictures that you see on it. Now, like you, I'll tell you this: like, throw together a fit and some good pictures in it, you'll definitely appreciate it. So
the colors are fire. So what else on your list? What else you got?
Well, okay, so I'm just gonna go through my list, and so actually, I'm not gonna put these in order. I'm just gonna say them.
Yeah.
So I really liked the Vans, the Era California with the Paisley. Okay. Those are now it's a Van. Anything with the Van, Vans have kind of always been like an open canvas when it comes to like collaborations and stuff like that. You really can't mess up a Van. Now, if they would have just made the Van and then put the Paisley on top, it probably would have just been regular, but they added the California on the midsole with the palm trees and the stuff all around it. Makes you a little sad because we can't go to the beach and stuff like that.
But the beach on your feet, though.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you that feeling. But I love Vans for myself out here because, like I had told Kixie, I said, when I wear Vans and stuff, it makes me feel good. It means I'm in a good mood when I have Vans and stuff like that.
Light. I'm just going with the flow kind of feel.
Yeah, it's just chilling. Like I said, I did mention the New Balance 327. Love it. It does remind me of a Sacai, a little bit waffle. I think that's kind of why I originally liked it. It's something different. I feel like New Balance, when it comes to design-wise, the 327 is a brand new design, right?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like they need more of that. I need more new designs, to appreciate, because a 997, 999s, all that, I love those. Those will never go out of style. 997, all this, I love them. But something new, it can open it up, and I can't wait to see if anybody does a collaboration with this model.
Well, I'm happy because I was at a focus group probably 2 years ago, and they showed us a whole bunch of models, and I was not impressed. I was like, they were doing all that welded technology, and the models were very athletic and fucking just tapered and tight looking. I was like, this isn't New Balance. So I complained the entire time, but whatever. And to see this is something that they innovated with, I'm very pleased. It's nice that they're using a little bit of material, they're using a little bit of innovation, and they're keeping it kind of close to the hip when it comes to material. I like it. It doesn't look like a bad shoe. I haven't seen it in hand, and that's hard for me because I'm very much a touch feel kind of person.
I also have the New Balance, the RC 1300 Tokyo design.
Okay. All right.
I like those a lot. I mean, I like
it's clean though.
Yeah, it's clean. I mean, I really don't see how you there's certain models of New Balance. How can you mess it up? Like a 997, 1300. You could put weird materials on it. You can get really, stagnant with the color. I think that's what I hear a lot of people that I know personally. They say that all New Balances look the same.
Well, I mean, you could look at it with an NB1. Realistically, those clean, crisp kind of tone feeling sneakers all do well for New Balance. So realistically, you can't stray that far off, especially in the 900 series. The 1500, you get a couple different crazy colors. You do black, pink, you can do blues in there. And it's just because the paneling's different. But the 998, 997, the most popular ones, I think, are probably Concepts Rose, all pink. The other one that they did, the New York pair with the mint, also Concepts. I think Concepts puts the best 998s out. But
and the 997. Like they literally are all one color.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when we talked to, we had Dion on the podcast, you know, from Concepts, and when he gave us the explanation of, like, the concepts that they went with that, it adds to it. Like, a lot of people, I will tell you this, starting to wear pink sneakers, it started with New Balance. That's when I had, like, really started, like, getting into my pink and pastel bag. Like, it wasn't with Nike and all that. Typically, those colors were reserved for the women's sneakers a lot.
I remember I had a pair of Pumas back in like '01, and they were like all white, and the little Puma little fucking side signature shit was pink, and I had an iridescent pair also, and they had one was iridescent like purple and like all these colors, and the other one was just pink. I used to wear the shit out them things, but like like Nike didn't really put out like unless it was like a women's sneaker, like it wasn't to that T.
And that was why, like, when, like, you know, I love, like you had brought up the concepts, like, when Dion explained to us, like, everyone thought that blue pair, that teal was, like, Statue of Liberty. And when he told us it was, you know, because of Tiffany's, when they made the badge for the first officer killed in the line of duty, I was like, oh, man, that makes it even more special. So I love stories like that.
Yeah, honestly, like, I think Concept does the best job when it comes to those kinds of things.
100%.
Release not so much, but like when it comes to like their designs and shit, fire.
It's the thought process that goes behind it.
Yeah.
I do like that ASIC Gel i5 that we talked about earlier. What is it? Is it Joe 2020?
You talking about the
Olympic ones?
Or the other one?
The Gel i5 that has like the gold gradiated in the back. And it's like a off-whitish color, and it has like the Chinese symbols in the back. I think it's for the Olympics. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you right now because I'm looking at it.
Because you had posted it in your story. That's the first time I had seen it.
Well, which one is that? Because I post a lot of ASICs in my story.
It was a ASIC Gel Light 5 JO 2020, I think.
Let me find it. What else you got? In the meantime.
I also have, I don't know if you follow FBCC or his brand Saya.
Yes.
But his Culture Vultures, I actually got a pair of them, and it's such a really good sneaker. The fit of it is phenomenal, and it's pink, and the fact that like you can walk outside with it and it changes colors to purple, I think is great. I think it's very creative. I think it's a really good sneaker. I think it's right on the right track of like, you know, supporting new brands and stuff like that. You know, sometimes you can like support some brand and stuff gets a little weird, but no, it's quality. It's the second pair of sneakers I bought from him. It's quality all the way. Only issue with, you know, people have with his brand is that like he does a lot of pre-order stuff, and it does take a long time to get, but it's a process.
Yeah, but I mean, like I do pre-orders too. I know the deal, man. Fuck that. Like, it is what it is at that point. Especially if you can buy something from someone and pre-order it and respect that they're going to get that product to you because you trust the work that they're doing, then just let them do their thing. That's the one thing
about that. How does that work for you? Pre-orders?
Huh. It's weird. Like, honestly, I don't want to make merch as it is. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not that I don't want to make merch. I just like making shit for myself. That goes back to having the one thing that nobody else has. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Plus, it's like my logo, and I like the way it looks on stuff. So, like, I like to make stuff for myself. Just so happens at the shop that I do like some stuff for, they have like an embroidery machine. They have a couple of things in there, so I make a lot of samples. So then I'll post the samples up, and then people like want it. And I'm like, damn it. All right, I guess I'll put this up for sale. And like, I'm not going to half-ass it. So like, I do like a whole like rollout. I do like a thing, and I take photos. I do all this extra shit. But I also don't want to make a lot. Because like I've done merch in the past where I just did T-shirts, and like it's $1,500 for all the shirts, and then you sell 6 of them, or you sell 25 of them, or you sell 50. Like you're not going to make your money back. So like for me, like I would rather make the product the best I can make it in the quantities that it needs to be made. You know what I'm saying? So like What happens, like I'll put the order in, and 9 times out of 10, like I'll have like a decent amount of the product already. It just won't have anything on it. So then I just have to get it produced. So like it's a little bit more expensive because I'm doing smaller quantities, but like whatever, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's easy. Yeah. Plus, I don't have a mansion. I don't live in a mansion. I live in New York. So like I can't keep 60 boxes of apparel in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I have to do it that way.
And see, with like with us, like I fought making something forever. I mean, I didn't make our first hat was just a blue hat, represent the Dodgers, represent California, because George and I are from there, and I wanted to make sure that what I would put out, I would wear. Like, I hate when like you try to be supportive of somebody for whatever reason, and then you get it and you're like, God, this sucks. Like, and I've made that mistake at a lot of like dunk exchanges and sneaker cons and stuff where it's like, hey, we make these shirts, and you're like, oh, okay, and you give them your $30 and you're like, God, this sucks. Like,
You son of a bitch.
yeah, it's like, man, like their concept is cool, but this sucks. But you know, I never did pre-orders. Like, I would just make a certain amount, and we've sold out of like both of our hats. Like, but like, because I have that fear of like making a certain amount and then nobody wants it. But then I end up getting into the issue with like, dang, you don't have any more. And then people are like, why don't you do a pre-order? But I'm like, I hate waiting for pre-orders. I would never want to do that to somebody.
I mean, but if you're transparent about it, it's not as terrible. Plus, I learned to do my pre-order like with enough time to not stress myself out. Like the Easter hoodie fucked me up. Like it really like it threw me for a loop because one, like I did the pre-order and then the hoodies were out. They were sold out. So then I had to call the manufacturer. I had to call a different manufacturer. I had to find another manufacturer. It cost me bad money to get the hoodies. Like it was like a whole thing. And then finally, like everything was in place, and then Corona hit. So like they were only able to do 3 of the colors. So like next week I'm able to get the last color done. So I sent everybody free T-shirts from the T-shirt that I just did. Like if you order the color I didn't get done yet, I sent you a complimentary T-shirt because like that's how I would want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I know you're waiting. You could either got the return. I would have been happy to return your money. That's fine. But since you didn't take the return, here's a free T-shirt. So like I like rewarded you for not taking the return basically. But like if that was me, that's how I would want to be treated in that situation. So like,
yeah, I like that.
It's definitely like it's a slippery slope. I will say that.
Another one I have on my list we talked about earlier was the ASIC gel, the 360, that olive with the pink sole.
360 olive with the pink sole.
The like bright pink bubbles.
Oh yes. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
It's there are 2 colors in that. There was the olive with the green, and then there was that pair. It's from the same collection. I know which ones you're talking about now.
Yeah, and I got that from you. Like,
yeah, I know exactly which ones you're talking about now.
I would have never looked at that sneaker and thought,
yeah, but that color block fire though.
Extremely fire. But you know what would have happened if I would have seen that in stores, or if I would have seen it somewhere else? If I would have I saw it on you first, like from a photo you posted.
You talk about the GmbH joints. The gel Nandi. Yeah, that's wild.
So I saw that pair on you first, or photos on your page, whatever it was. And if I would have seen that sneaker in store first, or even just on a feed or on a shelf or whatever, I would have thought, dang, another brand should have used those colors. If this was on a New Balance or on a Nike or something, oh my God, this would be crazy. I would have thought that, because the shoe doesn't come off as something that you can wear casually. It comes off as something a much older person would wear on a daily basis. What throws it off for the much older person is the colors. So when I saw you made something work with it with those colors, I said, ah, man, that joint is fire.
Well, honestly, like the ASICS is weird, man. They can really do some shit. And I get mad because I talk like one of my boys, like whatever, like they have the potential to do a lot more than they do. And it like drives me crazy because I'm like, you guys have it, like it's there. But
what's the hold? What is it?
I think there's like a cultural barrier. Obviously they're not based here. So like it's a little different, like what their goals are different than what, you know, we would expect from them. You know what I'm saying? So like after like the 5-year joint, with Ronnie, like that was like the end of ASICS, like doing Gel Light 3s for a little bit. Plus they were also doing a lot of like inline stuff that people didn't ask for. Like I tell this to brands all the time. Like when I talk to them, I'm like, listen, social media is there. If you can feed through all the trolls, there's a lot of viable content there. And like people are telling you what they want. Like they're telling you straight up. And if you're not listening, then you're wasting your time here. Like that's really what it is. And like nobody was asking them for what they were putting out, and people were actually complaining about it, and they just didn't listen. And now they're starting to listen, so like it's good.
Another one I also have is the Reebok Question Eric Emmanuel Pink Toe. Now let me tell you something. Questions, I love questions, but I loved questions about 15 years ago. One thing I love Reebok, but one thing with Reebok is they act like the question is the only
Shoot it there.
Yeah, like they act like there's never been another Iverson or another Reebok on Earth. Now, the reason why I do like this one is because I do like the pink toe. And then I said to myself, why wasn't there a pink toe about 10 years ago? Like, what was the holdup on that, But I like it. Would I buy it? Absolutely not. Because Reebok questions are actual boots. Like, there's just no way I could wear that nowadays.
That's fair.
I also got these ones that came out yesterday. They came out overseas, and I was surprised at how good they look. But it's the Kangaroos Runaway 001. Them joints are clean.
They call it locking is fire. Just nice, simple, clean.
Like, them joints are super fire.
Right? Is that the beige white pair you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last two I have the Puma Sky Dreamer, which I think this one is part of the J. Cole thing or whatever. It's way too high on the ankle, but I appreciate Puma trying their best to to make some of their classic models a little bit more modern to this day. Wearing Velcro straps way past your ankle is just not.
It just makes me feel way more athletic than I need to feel, especially at this age of my life.
Yeah, like it feels like I should be doing more when I'm wearing them. I shouldn't just be walking. I should be, posting up. I should be on the block trying to get a rebound. Like, I shouldn't be just trying to get down the street.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have this conversation too a lot with, like, when I'm talking like brand wise and stuff. And I look at a shoe like they did. I sat in a focus group. I don't know however long ago it was, and it was for the 720 like basketball joint that they did. I was like, listen, if you did it and you blocked it and you added some material to it, it would be like a fashion runway type of sneaker where I could see like somebody wearing a long black dress and this as like their sneaker with a weird belt. Like they're fashion shoes. They're not like you're making them for one thing, but they're going to be worn for something else. So why don't you just make it for that something else?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we get, like, I don't know the goal when you say with these brands, like, because I have to try to, like, separate myself because I don't know where they make the most money for a lot of these brands. So when I get angry that, like, this is too athletic, for all I know, they're making all their money from the athletic side of it. I can only give my opinion from, like, just chilling.
Yeah.
So it's like when you said about the New Balance, you did that focus group and a lot of their stuff was athletic and welded and all that. I don't feel like I can wear that with this fit, but they're not focused on man posted up with fit. They're focused on runner.
It's like the 10 June shit with Nike like 2 years ago. There was like, oh, Jordan 1. Meanwhile, like 10 June made the most money for them. So like realistically, like it's just another division that they're paying attention to. But at the end of the day, it's not really what's pulling in all of the cash,
Right. And the last one that I have on my list is Converse Pro Leather 2000s Bison. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like all brown, really extremely good material. It looks nice. Like, I like it a lot. A lot of people won't know what it is, but I love it.
I'm going to take a look at it real quick.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this, and I will admit this, and people know how I feel about PJ Tucker. Huh?
This boot thing?
I mean, yeah.
Huh.
I would tell you this. I saw PJ Tucker wearing it, getting off an airplane, and I thought it was fire. People know that I don't really... Not that I don't care for PJ Tucker, I just don't care for the, like, prestige and notoriety he gets from, being rich, to tell the truth.
Yeah, that shit drives you crazy.
Yeah, it drives me absolutely nuts. But I did see him wearing those, and I thought, okay, I could do something with it. I enjoy seeing, a long trench coat with something like that. Like, there's a lot of things that you could do with it, so I appreciate them. Am I going to buy them? I don't know. It doesn't get cold enough. I live in Arizona. Like, I'll be able to wear those for 4 weeks, and then it's in my closet.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes we buy things because we just like the way they look.
Yeah, I would have to travel somewhere to wear them.
Yeah, I just sent you a picture. I'll like
back to the construction thing, I used to wear like Red Wing boots, and that's what those remind me of. Exactly what they remind me of.
Ooh, these Asics you just sent are fire.
Yeah. Those are the ones I thought you were talking about. I was like, wait, and then I realized you were talking about the GmbH joints.
Yeah, I never seen these ones. And see, this is something a fit makes you say like, ooh, I could wear that with the fit.
Yeah, honestly, mint. I have a real like problem with mint and pink. Like, if a mint shoe comes out, I'm like, I might have to buy that. Like, I don't even know why. I just have to buy it. I looked at my closet and my color scheme. I'm like, God damn it, I gotta stop buying mint. And then a mint shoe comes out. I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna cop those.
Well, see, that's what happens with like New Balances and stuff like that. That's why I got so in love with New Balance. Was like the mints, the rose colors, the pinks, all those, the teals, the Tiffany colors. I got so enthralled in those where I was like, I got to the point to where now I can't buy any more pink sneakers because all my New Balances are pink. Like, even if it was a pink Nike or something, I'm like, nah, I got too many pink New Balances that I don't wear as much as I should. I don't need a pink VaporMax or whatever.
I think the good thing about that is that you can act. I look to my left and I have a pair of pink Diodoras, and right above it another pair of pink Diodoras, but they're like two different hues. You can match it. You can match it because not all pinks that you buy, like Top or like whatever, are the same pink anyway. So you'll have a sneaker that matches perfectly at some point if you just keep buying different pinks.
Yeah, I felt like I was getting to the point to where all the pinks were the same.
Oh, that's not good. That's definitely not good.
And I was buying too many of the pink on the same model.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. You gotta pull back a little bit.
So what you got on your list, Mike?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know what's on the list. It's all Nikes.
No, I'm very surprised that
I got it's not surprising because the thing about it is that most people don't realize is that I like shoes. I like shoes enough to admit that, like, you know what? Yeah, it's a fire shoe, no matter what brand makes it. Right. So it is what it is, I got the DMPs on there. DMPs, I think, definitely probably one of the best shoes to drop this year. I'm not going to say the best. I got the Spiridon Cage 2 joints from Stussy.
Okay, let me tell you this. I thought those sucked. Okay. Now, when I seen some of the colorways after that, I was like, dang, it's actually not that bad. It's kind of fire. And then it made me go back and appreciate the Stussy ones a little bit more.
So about that, I will probably never buy a Stussy or actually a Spiridon Cage 2. I'm not going to buy another one with the material from the Stussy, that beige pair that I did get, again, only because it makes your foot look super weird because there's no restriction on the upper area. I did a review and I almost didn't want to put it out because I was like, damn, I'm talking mad shit about this shoe and I like it. So like I left it alone. But like it looks mad weird. Like looking down at it, I'm like, damn, I hate this shoe. So like I'm like, all right, let me get one that doesn't have this kind of material, and then I'll make a real assumption or a real video about it. Next up, I got the Melody Ashani, the Air Jordan joints, the black and the red. I think she killed the color on it. Fantastic. I was going to try and cop because it does go to my size range, but I left it alone because I didn't really care too much, but I thought it was dope. Obviously, the UNC 3s. Also, surprisingly, I got the Just Dons in there from the Air Force One the Air Force High that he had.
That was the best release of All-Star Weekend.
I think by far. I have the original pair. I don't think a lot of people do, so I was a little upset that I couldn't get my hands on the blue pair because nobody gave a fuck about the white pair, but we'll leave that alone. Dunk Low Plum, obviously re-released, but like I think that was definitely one of the better shoes of this year as well. The pastels we spoke about, the Volts, obviously. And I got the 992, the Mita Asics that also dropped, the ones I wore recently with the Chillin' t-shirt, the white with the red toe box.
Oh, you like those?
Fire.
I hate the pull tab in the back.
I wasn't sold on them. I'm not going to lie to you. I got them, and I was like, the construction, material, and up close, the shoe is phenomenal. Like, I was pleasantly surprised, like, taken back by how much I liked it once I got it in hand. I was like, oh, I have the other one. I have the original. I have the re-release. Fuck it. But fire. Also, I put these on here for the simple fact that, one, LSE I don't think gets enough shine. But my boy, I don't know if you're familiar with him, King of Trainers, Franklin Boateng.
I was just shout out to the homie Andy Todd. I think that's his name. He lives in the UK, and he put me on to Soul Seeker Film. about European sneaker culture. And I watched it on Amazon Prime, and King of Trainer guy was on there, and I just started following him the day before yesterday.
Yeah, Franklin, super cool dude. Him on the Word on the Feet, Chris, both super cool dudes. I've been out to London, met them, chilled, hung out for years now. I know them. He did a collab with Ellisy, 1995. One is a light blue and one's a dark blue. They're going to be dropping in autumn. They did a small run for him and close friends. The shoe's fire. The material looks super dope. I thought it was really cool that the brand reached out to an actual person in, I fucking hate saying it, in sneakers. And they actually decided to put it out as a mass production too. So it's definitely not just for the support, because it's not just a support thing at this point. He put out a good shoe, because a lot of people put out shoes that don't deserve to put out shoes.
Facts.
And that's my list.
I like that list. I'm just starting to get familiar with King of Trainers, and I did see him talk about it was back in February, where I think it was February, where he said announcement about working with them. So I haven't seen the shoe yet, but I'm definitely want to see what it looks like.
It's actually up on Ellisy's page. They put it up. It's pretty far down. It's probably earlier in the year. But what they're doing is in autumn they're going to put it out as as a full drop. So see what we do. Should be dope though.
I don't have anything else, Mike. I appreciate you coming on here talking to me for this long.
Oh yeah. What are we doing?
I know it's I had moved to doing episodes in the closet because I did want to keep the show going. I don't know, we talk about the attention of sneakerheads, and it's you don't do something for a week or two and they're well, that's it, move on to the next one.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm doing a test right now. As soon as we come back, I'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this, with the format and how you guys set up your show, there hasn't been anybody during this time who's come up with anything better. Not even close to better. I'm actually embarrassed by some of the stuff I see.
Yeah, that's I'm kind of hoping somebody does, truthfully. I'm hoping that somebody comes up with something. I already have ideas. I already know what I want to do for the next revamp of it. But I'm curious to see if it's necessary, or if I could just do what Nike does and keep it basic, and not do any improvements.
I think you guys have a really good following, and your guys' shows are really good, and you guys' chemistry is great, and chemistry is a big deal when it comes to shows. It's, with me and George, we're actual friends, you know what I mean. Right. And it shows when you guys do your show. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Obviously I want to do this again. I love talking with people who talk. You talk. It makes 3 hours go by so quick.
Honestly, I thought we were an hour and a half. I was oh shit.
Nah, it's good. But I appreciate you, Mike. So I'll get at you later.
All right, catch you later, man. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Peace.
All right. Well, that was Mike, Mikey Dabb, host of the Hypebeast, whether it comes back or not, I'm not sure, and host of the Breakdown. You can see with KB and Tone the Voice on YouTube. I think it's every Thursday it comes on. Appreciate him coming on. Man, I'm sorry we keep doing these 3-hour episodes, but conversation is conversation. Content is content, and we're just trying to make sure we put it out there for you guys. And for people to get on here and conversate about sneakers and the stuff that we love for this long, it shows that we know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about. And we want to educate, we want to learn, we want to participate, we want everybody to participate. So that's the Sneak This. Pow, 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 pow.